Chapter 987. As the divine grasses fell into the pill furnace, Ning Cheng's Dao charm began to gather and then slowly merged with the medicinal pills in the pill furnace. What a powerful Dao! Some cultivators, who had sobered up because of Ning Cheng's Dao charm, felt secretly shocked. When Ning Cheng condensed the primordial Dao core, what he released was just the tip of the iceberg of his Dao. Even this tip of the iceberg made many sage emperors sink into enlightenment. From this, it could be seen that Ning Cheng's Dao was definitely not a trivial matter. Yu Shizhen looked at Ning Cheng's alchemy technique and felt even more horrified. Ning Cheng really did not have a fixed pill technique. Occasionally, a few handprints similar to pill techniques would fall into the pill furnace. Yu Shizhen quickly determined that it was not a pill technique, but he did not dare to think about it because he was closer to Ning Cheng on the pill platform and could feel it more deeply. The reason why he did not dare to think about it was because he felt that Ning Cheng's handprints contained some law aura. Even Sidu Chen and Xiao Tian would not dare to put the law aura of heaven and earth into the pill furnace, right? Yet, Ning Cheng actually integrated the law aura into the pill furnace? Were these his own laws, or the laws of heaven and earth that he comprehended? Or was it the law aura of the 16 fruit? Yu Shizhen did not completely guess it right, but he had guessed some clues. Ning Cheng had indeed captured the faint law aura of the 16 fruit, which was far higher than his current understanding of the Tao of returning to one. With his current ability in the Tao of alchemy, he absolutely could not integrate the Tao fruit law of the 16 fruit into the 16 soul pill. Because of this, Ning Cheng began to use his Dao to capture the Dao fruit law of the 16 fruit. 10 days later, his understanding of the Dao of returning to one improved further, and he also captured the law aura of the 16 fruit in the universe of returning to one. Previously, that alchemy master wanted to pick on Ning Cheng, but at least he was right about one thing. The Dao of alchemy should be cautious and not have a speck of dust. After 10 days and 10 nights of enlightenment, Ning Cheng integrated all the divine grasses, including the 16 fruit, into the pill furnace. 10 days and 10 nights of enlightenment of the Dao, 10 days and 10 nights of law Dao aura capture. Ning Cheng thought that since he had captured the law aura of the 16 fruit in the Dao of returning to one, he should be able to integrate this law Dao fruit far beyond his current ability into the 16 soul pill. The Dao of alchemy had no should, much less possible. Success was success, failure was failure. Although Ning Cheng managed to capture the Dao fruit laws of the 16 fruit, he couldn't keep this Dao fruit laws. It wasn't that his understanding wasn't enough, it wasn't that his alchemy level wasn't high enough, it was that his strength wasn't high enough. Perhaps after refining a dozen more cauldrons of primordial Dao pills, he would be able to perfectly refine the 16 soul pill. Perhaps if his cultivation level advanced a little, he would also be able to refine the 16 soul pill. But now he couldn't. Feeling the 16 fruits law aura gradually dissipating, Ning Cheng felt a burst of sadness in his heart. He had tried his best. In order to save Sun Hanrui, he had spent 10 days and 10 nights in an epiphany of the Grand Dao. He had even tried to find the aura of the 16 fruit within his Grand Dao of returning to one. He didn't even hesitate to let others see the tip of the iceberg of his Dao. He didn't even hesitate to lose this competition. He would still fail. This was because it was beyond his ability. He did not have the ability to refine a perfect primordial Dao pill. The pill fragrance was rolling in the furnace, and the white flame under the furnace was like the flying snow in June. The Dao charm around Ning Cheng's body became even thinner. Although he was still working hard, his heart had already turned decadent. No one could feel the changes in Ning Cheng's pill furnace, except for Si Chen Xiao Tian. Si Chen Xiao Tian gave out a long sigh in his heart. Ning Cheng was definitely the most talented alchemy genius he had ever seen. He was sure that this was Ning Cheng's first time refining a primordial Dao pill. An alchemy master refining a primordial Dao pill for the first time had almost left behind the 16 fruits law Dao charm and integrated it into the pill. With this alone, no one in the entire Grand Essence realm could compare to him. Not even he could compare. Unfortunately, if Si Chen Xiao Tian had known about this, he would have definitely taken out a few cauldrons of primordial Dao pills for Ning Cheng to practice on. The Dao of alchemy was also one of the Daos. If Ning Cheng failed this time, his Tao heart would most likely suffer a backlash. Not only would his Tao heart be affected, but even his Tao heart would most likely be affected. For alchemy masters, failure are common. Alchemy master Ning doesn't have to worry about it. Si Chen Chiu Tian finally couldn't help but send a sound transmission to Ning Cheng. If there was anyone here who could send a sound transmission into Ning Cheng's alchemy restrictions, he was the only one. He really didn't want Ning Cheng to fall because of this cauldron of medicinal pills. He really didn't want to see an alchemy genius fall. Not to mention the Tao of alchemy, Ning Cheng's Tao alone was much stronger than his Tao. Ning Cheng's heart shook, and he immediately sobered up from his own world. If it were any other medicinal pill, it wouldn't matter much. But this was the 6-in soul pill. Once he advanced to the Tao Essence Pill Saint realm, wouldn't he be able to obtain the materials for the 6-in soul pill? Or, even if he obtained the materials, how many years would that take? It didn't matter if he lost. He didn't need the top-grade wood origin spirit vein. But what about Sun Hanrui? Even the 6-in soul pill couldn't drag it out for too long. But Sun Hanrui had dragged it out long enough. Laws. What could he use to gather his laws again and condense them into the 6-in soul pill? His understanding of the laws of heaven and earth? But it was too late. He couldn't cultivate for a few years before refining this cauldron of medicinal pills. Yes, he still had half a bestowing lawless fruit. It was a Tao fruit that devoured the laws of heaven and earth but didn't have any laws. Bestowing lawless fruit didn't have any laws, but it didn't mean that it had nothing to do with laws. If it had nothing to do with laws, he wouldn't have been able to comprehend a law-breaking spirit technique through the bestowing lawless fruit. Because Ning Cheng had comprehended half a bestowing lawless fruit, he understood that this kind of fruit could not only absorb and devour the laws of heaven and earth, but it could also bind the laws. Not to mention the Tao fruit laws of a mere 6-in fruit. Even 100 sets of 6-in soul pills materials combined might not be as precious as the bestowing lawless fruit. After Ning Cheng thought of the bestowing lawless fruit, he didn't even think about it. He directly took out the bestowing lawless fruit and threw it into the pill furnace. No one knew what kind of divine grass Ning Cheng threw into the pill furnace. But everyone just stared at Ning Cheng in amazement. Even those who didn't understand alchemy couldn't help but feel puzzled. What did it mean to add a divine grass when all the divine grasses had fused and all the impurities had been extracted? In just a few moments, the rich aura of the laws of heaven and earth once again surrounded the pill furnace. Ning Cheng didn't even need to exert any effort to completely bind the Tao fruit laws of the 6-in fruit and integrate it into the 6-in soul pill. Ning Cheng even suspected that even if an ordinary Tao sculpting pill deity came here to refine the 6-in soul pill, he could still succeed as long as he had this bestowing lawless fruit. Soon, Ning Cheng's mind completely immersed within the laws, and he could clearly capture the laws of heaven and earth. Then he also captured the aura that suppressed and devoured the laws of heaven and earth. It was also a kind of law. To be precise, it was a kind of anti-law because its existence suppressed the aura of the laws of heaven and earth. This was the Tao charm of breaking laws. If Ning Cheng hadn't remembered that he was still refining the 6-in soul pill, he would have fallen into a second law-breaking epiphany. Ning Cheng didn't fall into the law-breaking epiphany, but the many holy emperors watching Ning Cheng's alchemy felt shocked by the clear laws of heaven and earth. They even felt a trace of the Tao charm aura that suppressed the laws of heaven and earth. This was, unfortunately, their spiritual consciousnesses couldn't penetrate Ning Cheng's alchemy restrictions. Although they knew that this aura was extraordinary, they couldn't really comprehend it. Breaking laws was naturally extraordinary. If breaking laws were ordinary, then not many powerhouses would go to the land of broken laws to comprehend this law-breaking spirit technique. As the aura of laws within the pill furnace grew fainter and fainter, the pill charm within the pill furnace grew clearer and clearer. Another 2 days passed, and the fragrance from the pill furnace spread out. The fragrance also contained a faint trace of blood aura. Everyone stared at Ning Cheng's furnace with wide eyes. The pill fragrance of the 6-in soul pill is coming out. It contains pill charm and blood aura. Is this the 6-in soul pill about to form? I also felt the aura of the universe returning to one from this pill charm. Did Ning Cheng really succeed in refining the primordial Dao pill? Did he even integrate his own Dao charm? Even though Ning Cheng had used half a month to refine the pill, everyone still felt shocked by Ning Cheng. As long as one was in the Grand Essence realm, everyone knew that Siduchen Qiu was a primordial Dao pill saint. But no one had ever seen Siduchen Qiu refine a Dao pill. Moreover, he never refined pills for others. But now, Ning Cheng had refined the primordial Dao pill under everyone's noses. Moreover, it was the 6 soul pill. At this moment, no one cared about whether Ning Cheng won or lost. Everyone just stared at Ning Cheng. It seemed that Ning Cheng was more attractive than the furnace of 6 soul pill because Ning Cheng was a primordial Dao pill saint. Bursts of crisp pill sounds rang out from the pill furnace, and a rumbling sound seemed to come from above the pill discussion public square. Is this a pill tribulation? A Dao sculpting pill saint looked up at the sky above the public square in disbelief. This public square was an indoor public square. Because of the restrictions, no one could see what was happening outside. A medicinal pill at the level of the primordial Dao pill shouldn't cause a pill tribulation. What's more, even if it causes a pill tribulation and the Grand Essence realm's laws to shatter, it shouldn't cause a lightning strike. Then the rumbling thunder outside. Some alchemists started talking as they looked at the medicinal pill in Ning Cheng's pill furnace in disbelief. Siduchen Qiu stood up in amazement. A primordial Dao pill causing a pill art? Stop joking around. Not to mention the Grand Essence realm shattering, even if the Grand Essence realm's laws were intact, a mere 6 soul pill wouldn't cause a pill tribulation. Even if an eternal cultivator reached the Dao-confirming realm or a Dao-sculpting holy emperor, they wouldn't be able to trigger a thunder tribulation due to the shattering of the laws, let alone a small pill. The only possibility was that Ning Cheng had added a divine grass to the pill furnace. But what was that? Ning Cheng also looked up in shock. He knew that because the Grand Essence realm's laws had shattered, there wouldn't be a thunder tribulation when one reached the Dao-confirming realm. How could he trigger a pill tribulation when refining a small 6 soul pill? That's right, it wasn't his 6 soul pill, but the heaven-defying bestowing lawless fruit. Boom boom boom. 6 powerful lightning arcs blasted through the public square's restrictions and fell directly towards the pill furnace. Chapter 988. There's really a pill lightning tribulation? Almost everyone on the square stood up and stared at the 6 bolts of pill lightning in shock. Although these 6 thunder tribulation arcs had nothing to do with them, everyone knew that Ning City might not be able to withstand these 6 thunder tribulation arcs. Although the 6 bolts of lightning looked simple, the heaven and earth law aura overflowing from them showed that this was definitely far stronger than Dao molding divine emperor's tribulation lightning. Only pill refiners could withstand this kind of tribulation lightning. Ning Cheng suddenly stood up. He didn't even take out any magic treasure. He just flew up and punched several times. Whether it was the cultivators who came to listen to the pill or the pill refiners, they all looked at Ning Cheng in disbelief. Was he stupid? No matter how important the pill was, he couldn't use his body to resist the lightning tribulation, right? Plus, these 6 bolts of lightning law Dao runes weren't something an ordinary Dao molding divine emperor could resist. Bang bang. While everyone was still confused, Ning Cheng had already clashed with the descending lightning bolts. The lightning tribulation containing the law aura smashed onto Ning Cheng's fist and made a popping sound. There seemed to be no flesh and blood splattering and no bones breaking. Boom! Ning Cheng landed from the sky. The sound of his feet landing on the pill stage was like a hammer hitting everyone's mind, waking them up. Apart from the sleeve on Ning Cheng's arm, he didn't even have a scratch on his skin. The lightning tribulation disappeared without a trace. This time, there were only 6 waves of pill lightning tribulation. If he blocked it, there would be no more. Was Ning Cheng really a Dao molding divine emperor? After Ning Cheng easily blew away the 6 bolts of pill lightning, no one was willing to believe that Ning Cheng was a Dao molding divine emperor. None of the Dao molding divine emperors could easily blast away the 6 pill lightning tribulations like Ning Cheng. 6 dark red fragrant pills flew out and were put into 2 jade bottles by Ning Cheng. Because Ning Cheng's pill refinement restriction had already been destroyed by the lightning tribulation, everyone could see Ning Cheng's 6 pills. That's right, 16 soul pills. Not only were they 16 soul pills, but they were also special grade 16 soul pills. They didn't even see a single top-grade pill. There was no sound in the public square, no one even thought about the matter of Ning Cheng losing the match. To be able to refine 6 special-grade primordial Dao pills, or even 16 soul pills, just how high was Ning Cheng's alchemy Dao level? Pairs of eager eyes fell on Ning Cheng. At this moment, everyone's thoughts were different. Ning Cheng was a more powerful primordial Dao alchemy saint compared to Siduchin Qiu-Tian. However, Ning Cheng and Siduchin Qiu-Tian were different. Ning Cheng was a rogue cultivator without any background. Ning Cheng also took in a deep breath. He was the clearest about his own situation. He was not a primordial Dao alchemy saint. At least, he could not refine primordial Dao pills yet. The reason why he could complete this furnace of 16 soul pills was not because of his high attainment in the alchemy Dao, but because of the bestowing lawless fruit. Without the bestowing lawless fruit, this batch of 16 soul pills would have already failed. In other words, if he were to refine another cauldron of 16 soul pills now, he still would not be able to refine it. If he wanted to refine the 16 soul pill, he had to go into seclusion at the very least and thoroughly understand the great Tao that he had comprehended during the pill discussion assembly. Then, he would have to integrate the great Tao of returning to one into his alchemy Tao. All of these would take time. Moreover, when that alchemy Tao thunder tribulation descended, Ning Cheng vaguely felt that this thunder tribulation wasn't the grand essence realm's heavenly Tao thunder tribulation. This feeling was very mysterious and he couldn't figure it out. Ning Cheng cupped his fists towards Yu Qingzhen, who stood on the side in shock. At the same time, he also cupped his fists towards Sage Emperor Qin Yi and spoke with a calm tone. This junior has spoken too much. I have already failed the challenge. I lost to Pill Sage Lu. Despite losing, Ning Cheng didn't feel even the slightest bit of regret. He had successfully refined 6 16 soul pills, which was more than enough. A wood-attributed top-grade spirit vein might be a good thing, but it couldn't compare to a life. Perhaps in the eyes of other cultivators, using a top-grade spirit vein and even half a bestowing lawless fruit in exchange for a failure was the stupidest thing one could do. How could the life of a puny soul essence cultivator be so valuable? But Ning Cheng didn't think so. He only did what he thought he should do. Besides, if he participated in the 5 Realms pill competition with his current level of alchemy Dao, he might still be far from that top-grade spirit vein. Unless he had a lot of Dao essence and above Dao fruits to practice on. But in fact, it was impossible. Yu Qingzhen opened his mouth but didn't say a word. He knew that he was the one who really lost, not Ning Cheng. Just as Ning Cheng said he lost to take responsibility for his words. Ning Cheng couldn't refine the 16 soul pill in a day. In fact, not to mention Ning Cheng, any Dao transformation pill sage with Dao sculpting cultivation couldn't refine the 16 soul pill in a day. Haha! Gong Huayu laughed wildly and rushed up. He didn't expect that Ning Cheng would succeed in refining the pills. Moreover, he managed to refine 6 top-grade pills. It was simply a pleasant surprise. As for whether Ning Cheng won or lost the competition, he didn't care. He used a set of 16 soul pill materials to reap 3 top-grade 16 soul pills. Not only did he return Ning Cheng's favor, but he also gained the friendship of a Dao Essence pill sage. Apart from him, Gong Huayu, who else had the courage to do such a thing? How could there be such great luck? Ning Cheng put a jade bottle into the hands of Gong Huayu and spoke in a grateful voice. Many thanks to Elder Brother Gong for generously taking out the materials for the 16 soul pill. This Ning Cheng was fortunate enough to not disappoint you. These 3 pills belong to Elder Brother Gong. If Brother Gong needs anything in the future, just say the word. Gong Huayu grabbed the jade bottle and curbed his smile as he cupped his fists towards Ning Cheng and spoke. Elder Brother Ning, I also have the same words. In the future, if Elder Brother Ning has any requests, then please do not hesitate to speak. After all, this was the pill discussion public square. As such, Gong Huayu did not speak much with Ning Cheng. After taking the medicinal pills, he immediately returned to the pill listening booth. What he wanted was Ning Cheng's friendship, and he obtained it. No one cared about Gong Huayu's maniacal laughter. In any case, Gong Huayu was also a friend of Ning Cheng. In the future, if they could not move Ning City, then perhaps they could ask Gong Huayu. Only when Gong Huayu left did the pill discussion plaza once again boil over. As for the huge gap above the square that was blasted by the thunder tribulation, no one cared at all. What everyone cared about was the primordial Tao pill saint, Ning Cheng. Even if it was an excited discussion, his voice was deliberately suppressed. As for Le Shizhen, who had won the competition, she had long since been ignored. Holy Emperor Qing Yi, who stood by the side of the pill platform, did not know what to do. Should he announce Ning Cheng's victory, or should he announce Le Shizhen's victory? According to the rules of the pill discussion conference, Ning Cheng had won this competition. But who wanted Ning Cheng to say before the competition that he would admit defeat if he could not refine a medicinal pill in a day? At this moment, apart from Gong Huayu, no one went to speak to Ning Cheng. Sire Qiu Tian's voice broke the atmosphere. Ning Cheng, can you show me the 6-in soul pill you refined? Of course. Ning Cheng did not hesitate to take out a medicinal pill, put it on the jade plate, and handed it to Holy Emperor Qing. From the start of the pill discussion conference until now, Sire Qiu Tian had always been fair and didn't hide anything from him. He even took the initiative to remind him when his Tao heart was damaged. Ning Cheng still respected this kind of person. Sire Qiu Tian looked at the 6-in soul pill on the jade plate and sighed after a while. It's a perfect Tao pill. Not only does it have a rich alchemy Tao aura, but it also has a clear law aura. I can't refine this kind of Tao pill. Maybe in the entire Grand Essence realm, only Pill Sage Ning can refine it. How is this just a good pill? While Sire Qiu Tian observed the medicinal pill, everyone else observed it with their spiritual consciousness. The 6-in soul pill refined by Ning Cheng had a clear pill charm and law aura. It even contained a trace of Ning Cheng's Grand Tao's Tao charm. Just as Sire Qiu Tian said, this pill wasn't just a good pill. Sire Qiu Tian had previously said that Le Shizhen's Essence Pulse Crossing pill was a good pill. But now, he said that Ning Cheng's pill wasn't just a good pill. This meant that Ning Cheng's alchemy Tao level far surpassed Le Shizhen's. This time, without waiting for Holy Emperor Qing Yi to speak, Le Shizhen took the initiative to speak. Pill Master Ning, I failed in this pill discussion. My alchemy Tao is far from being Pill Master Ning's opponent. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile. He really wanted to participate in the 5 Realms pill competition, but not in this way. Without waiting for Le Shizhen to finish her words, Ning Cheng took the initiative to speak up. Pill Master Le, you don't have to say anything. I'm very satisfied with my loss. As for representing the Grand Essence realm in the 5 Realms pill competition, I won't go. Pill Master Ning, I think you should represent my Grand Essence realm in the 5 Realms pill competition. Maybe you will become the pride of my Grand Essence realm. Sire Qiu Tian suddenly spoke up. When Sire Qiu Tian didn't speak, no one in the pill discussion public square said anything. Now that Sire Qiu Tian said that Ning Cheng should represent the Grand Essence realm in the pill competition, Cheng Ho Tian immediately stood up and said, when Ning Cheng took the Tao Transformation Pill Sage assessment, I felt that he was qualified to represent my Grand Essence realm in the 5 Realms pill competition. I agree with Association Master's words. I also agree with letting Pill Sage Ning represent my Grand Essence realm in the 5 Realms pill competition. This time, Sun Rushuan spoke up. An expert from the Silver Dragon clan sitting next to Gong Huayu also stood up to support Ning Cheng. 7-star Sacred Shrine, 9 Revolutions Sacred Tao Pond, Flaming Feather Spirit Mountain, Heaven's Pole Island, Purple Mist Immortal Valley, Heaven Medicine Sect, Missing Moon Valley, Grand Essence Realms Shi Clan. All the sects and clans that came to listen to the pill discussion expressed their support for Ning Cheng to represent the Grand Essence realm in the 5 Realms pill competition. In the end, even River Luo's Sacred Sect and Desolate Spirit Palace agreed with Ning Cheng's participation in the 5 Realms pill competition. I also agree with Pill Sage Ning. My alchemy Tao level isn't as good as Ning. This time, Sire Qiu Tian interrupted Le Shizhen's words. Pill Sage Lu also wants to represent my Grand Essence realm in the 5 Realms pill competition. This time, I will personally lead the team. I believe that with my old face, I can still get one more spot for my Grand Essence realm. Ning Cheng won everyone's respect with his own strength. No matter how much of it was fake, Ning Cheng knew that after this pill discussion Grand Assembly, he had finally gained a foothold in the Grand Essence realm. In the future, no matter who wanted to hunt him down, they would have to consider the consequences. At this time, if there was still a sect that remained silent, it would be the Void Star sect sitting on the pill discussion stage. Percy sat in his seat with his head down and didn't speak. The Void Star sect's sect master, who sat next to Percy, had a gloomy and ugly expression on his face. He had just refused Ning Cheng's request to refine the sky-replenishing bone vein pill for his Void Star sect. Yet, Ning Cheng had slapped him in the face. It was because he had refined a medicinal pill that was many times more difficult to refine than the sky-replenishing bone vein pill. It was the primordial Tao pill, the 6-in soul pill. He had just watched the entire process of Ning Cheng's alchemy. Therefore, he was sure that as long as Ning Cheng could refine the sky-replenishing bone vein pill to this standard, Ning Cheng would have a 99% chance of successfully refining the sky-replenishing bone vein pill. Chapter 989. Since Si Chen Xiao said so, Ning Cheng naturally wouldn't refuse. Now that he could obtain the 6-in Soul Force pills and represent the Grand Essence realm in the 5 Realms pill competition without snatching Le Shizhen's spot, how could Ning Cheng refuse? Many thanks, Senior Qiu Tian. Ning Cheng will do his best. Ning Cheng quickly thanked him. Si Chen Qiu Tian nodded, took out a golden card, and handed it to Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng, this is the qualification card for a primordial Tao pill saint. It's also the highest qualification card that my Grand Essence Realm Pill Association can give out. Since you refined 6 special grade 6-in Soul Force pills, this qualification card should be given to you. Ning Cheng wanted to refuse because only he knew that he wasn't a primordial Tao pill saint yet. Rather, he was only a few furnaces away from becoming a primordial Tao pill saint. He quickly thought of the value of this qualification card. If he obtained the qualification card for a primordial Tao pill saint, in the entire Grand Essence realm, apart from Tao perfection powerhouses, even Tao fusion powerhouses would have to think twice before making a move on him. Ning Cheng thanked him again before taking the qualification card for a primordial Tao pill saint with both hands. He couldn't refine primordial Tao pills yet, but he was already the 2nd alchemist in the Grand Essence realm with a primordial Tao pill saint qualification card. No one in the alchemy discussion venue objected to Ning Cheng obtaining this alchemist qualification card. Everyone had seen Ning Cheng refining the 6-in Soul Force pills. Ning Cheng was not only a primordial Tao pill saint, but also a primordial Tao pill saint who could refine special grade 6-in Soul Force pills. After Ning Cheng put away the primordial Tao pill saint qualification card, Holy Emperor Qin Yi stepped onto the pill platform and spoke in a clear voice. Congratulations, Pill Sage Ning, and congratulations to my Grand Essence realm for having another primordial Tao pill saint. This alchemy discussion has a total of 6 pill sages representing my Grand Essence realm in the 5 Realms pill competition. Because there was an extra person this time, the support of each alchemist from the various sects and clans would be sent to the participating alchemists through the Elixir Association. Then, the alchemists would choose the sects and clans that would support them. This alchemy discussion ends here. Many thanks to my Grand Essence Realm's alchemists and all the Tao friends from the Grand Essence Realm for coming. Every time they participated in the 5 Realms pill competition, some sects and clans would support some alchemists that they were optimistic about participating. This support wasn't just empty words. It was something substantial. This was what Sacred Emperor Qin Yi's final words meant. The sects and clans that he supported should take out their items. The Elixir Association will give the list of items you have brought out to the participating alchemists. As for which alchemist will choose, it will depend on how many items you have brought out. Ning Cheng, if you have time, you can always come to my immortal cave to discuss the Tao of alchemy. When Ning Cheng walked down the pill platform, Si Chen Qiu Tian sent out an invitation to Ning Cheng. Si Chen Qiu Tian's status in the Grand Essence realm wasn't just that of a union master. His status was much higher than the average sect master of a major sect. Now that Sikhen Qiu Tian personally invited Ning Cheng, and even said that Ning Cheng could go to his immortal cave at any time. It was a supreme honor. It also showed how much Sikhen Chiu Tian valued Ning Cheng. When there is time, this junior and brother Ho Tian will definitely come to senior's immortal cave to listen to your teachings. Ning Cheng quickly responded, while pulling Ching Ho Tian along with him. Although Ning Cheng felt grateful towards Si Chen and Chiu Tian, he did not intend to waste his time on discussing pills. He still had a lot of things to do, so why would he waste his time on talking? Si Chen Chiu Tian laughed. Since you call junior apprentice brother Ho Tian as your elder brother, I naturally can't be too arrogant. You can call me brother Chiu Tian from now on. For other alchemists, Si Chen Chiu Tian's regard for them was something they couldn't even burn incense. But for Ning Cheng, it didn't seem too outrageous. After all, Ning Cheng himself was a Dao transformation pill saint. Moreover, his attainment in the Dao of alchemy seemed to be higher than Si Chen Chiu Tian's. On this side, Si Chen Chiu Tian had just walked away when many people came to greet Ning Cheng. It seemed that even speaking a word to Ning Cheng was a supreme honor. Pill Sage Ning, I just got the news that the divine grasses you wanted have arrived in Heaven Essence Sacred City. An abrupt voice interrupted the greeting between Ning Cheng and the crowd. Some people recognized the person who spoke. He had a dark face and discordant slender eyes. It was the sect master of the Void Star sect, Wu Bufeng. After Wu Bufeng spoke, the people who greeted Ning Cheng quieted down. Although everyone didn't know what kind of deal Wu Bufeng had with the Void Star sect, they could guess that Wu Bufeng had rejected Ning Cheng's request to borrow medicinal pill materials. Now, they guessed that Wu Bufeng wanted to borrow medicinal pill materials after seeing Ning Cheng's strength in the Tao of alchemy. Although many people felt that Wu Bufeng had misjudged Ning Cheng's attainment in the Tao of alchemy, they also felt that it was normal. Some people who knew Ning Cheng's temperament understood that Wu Bufeng was talking nonsense. If it weren't for Silver Dragon Clan's Gong Huayu, Ning Cheng wouldn't have obtained the Dao Essence Pill Saint qualification card and participated in the 5 Realms Pill competition. Most likely he wouldn't have won many greetings, but a lot of ridicule. Ning Cheng looked at the dark-faced man and spoke in a calm tone. I'm afraid you've made a mistake. I never knew you, and I've never asked you for any divine grasses. If I said anything wrong, I've already apologized. The dark-faced man suddenly frowned. Ning Cheng had now become a Dao Essence Pill Saint, and his status had indeed risen. But he was the sect master of the Void Star sect. Since he said this in person, it meant that he wanted to ask Ning Cheng for alchemy. Ning Cheng not only refused, but also refused in such a tone, which made him extremely unhappy. So what if he was a Dao Essence Pill Saint? His Void Star sect could crush Ning Cheng as easily as crushing an ant. But now that he asked Ning Cheng for help, he had no choice but to endure it. He looked back at Percy, hoping that Percy would stand up and speak. Percy lowered his head and didn't even dare to raise his head. He didn't have the face to look at Ning Cheng. Asking for help in alchemy? How could there be such a method? Previously, when people needed your Void Star sect's help, your Void Star sect pretended to be dead. Now that people have passed the crisis, and your Void Star sect knows about people's abilities, you can slap yourself in the face and say that pretending to be dead wasn't true. Who would care about you? Ning Cheng didn't give Wu Bufeng a chance to speak at all and directly said to Yan Ji, Jian Sanshan and the others, "We're leaving." The 5 Realms Pill competition was still far away. Ning Cheng intended to pack up the things here and head to the Grand Essence Ruins to look for the dim star-hidden gold leaves. After that, he would find a way to return to the 4 grand starry skies. Ning Cheng was now an influential figure, and everyone wanted to make friends with him. Since Ning Cheng wanted to leave, they naturally stepped aside and let Ning Cheng go first. Pill Sage Ning, please wait a moment. Another voice called out to Ning Cheng. So it's the Star Stepping Tower's master. Ning Cheng saw a black-robed woman walking over and immediately recognized her. This woman was very strong. As such, Ning Cheng did not want to have any interaction with her, nor did he want to offend her. The black-robed woman nodded to Ning Cheng. Congratulations to Pill Sage Ning for obtaining the qualifications to become a primordial Dao Pill Sage. You will represent the Grand Essence Realm in the 5 Realms Pill competition. Many thanks. After Ning Cheng spoke those 2 words, he did not continue. His meaning was very clear. If you don't have anything else, then I'll leave. The Star Stepping Tower's master didn't seem to care about Ning Cheng's intentions and continued, I wonder if Pill Sage Ning has the time to come to my Star Stepping Tower? Last time, I accepted a bottle of Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pills from you, but I didn't do much, so I feel somewhat apologetic. Ning Cheng sneered in his heart, do you feel sorry for me? Don't laugh my teeth off. Even if I gave you 100 bottles of Empyrean Consciousness Transmutation pills, you wouldn't feel bad about it. Many thanks for the invitation, Star Stepping Tower's master. But I have too many things to take care of, so I'm afraid I won't have the time for the time being. Since Association Master Chiu Tian invited me, I don't have the time to visit for the time being. Ning Cheng spoke with a respectful tone. Although Ning Cheng's tone was respectful, his words didn't have the slightest hint of respect. That is, I didn't even go to see Chen's Chiu Tian's invitation. Since you invited me, I naturally wouldn't go. Everyone here understood that they weren't on the same path. The Star Stepping Tower's master frowned slightly and suddenly spoke up, I just want to discuss the diploma with you. When I was a child, my family was poor, so I didn't have any high education. Ning Cheng's heart thumped, and he instantly understood. Even if the Star Stepping Tower's master didn't come from Earth, he most likely had some relationship with Earth. Ning Cheng immediately thought of some of the clauses he had seen in the Star Stepping Tower and felt even more certain about it. If this black-robed woman was a kind-hearted person, Ning Cheng might have felt excited at this moment and immediately went up to meet her. A fellow villager meeting a fellow villager, with tears in his eyes. However, Ning Cheng knew that this black-robed woman was a thick-skinned person who would never care about other people's lives. As such, he would never dare to recognize such a fellow villager. In other words, if he recognized such a fellow villager, it would definitely be akin to stabbing a gun in the back. Senior, what is a high education? What does it have to do with a diploma? Ning Cheng looked at the Star Stepping Tower's master in a daze and asked. The Star Stepping Tower's master stared at Ning Cheng closely, but Ning Cheng's eyes were pure and without any emotions. Then let me ask you, what did you mean when you said that we could compete based on our diplomas? Ning Cheng's eyes flashed with nostalgia as he spoke. It's about a friend I once met. He taught me a lot of things. Because he often mentioned the word diploma, I asked him if it was a diploma. He said that a diploma is a qualification, elementary school is a low-level qualification, a doctorate is a top-level qualification, and there are many other things in between. That's why I said that the Pill Association's qualification card is a diploma. Is there anything wrong with that? What's his name? The Star Stepping Tower's master clenched her fists. She couldn't tell if Ning Cheng was telling the truth or lying. But no matter what Ning Cheng said, she didn't dare to do anything to Ning Cheng right now. His name is Tsang Wei, a very powerful holy emperor. I estimate that he has long since surpassed the primordial chaos realm. But because he was besieged, he ended up in a low-level interface and met me. Ning Cheng's words were all true, but at the same time, they were all false. That's because Tsang Wei didn't know anything about a diploma. After saying this, Ning Cheng secretly thought to himself, Senior Apprentice Brother Tsang Wei, you can't blame me. This woman is too powerful, and I can't handle her. If you meet her in the future, you can deal with her yourself. The Star Stepping Tower's master didn't ask again. Instead, she stared at Ning Cheng for a while before speaking with a smile. Pill Sage Ning, come to my Star Stepping Tower when you have time. I'll be waiting for you. Looking at the Star Stepping Tower's masters disappearing back, Ning Cheng finally felt relieved. Go to the Star Stepping Tower? Wait until he reached the second step of Tao Confirming Realm. Even if you don't ask me, I will ask you. As for now, forget it. Tianhe, go talk to that Ning Cheng. Also, on behalf of my 9 Revolutions Sacred Tao Pond, invite him. A woman with a few wrinkles on her face looked at Ning Cheng walking out of the pill discussion public square. Yes, Uncle Master. Shi Tianhe quickly responded. After that, she started walking towards Ning Cheng. Master, wait a minute. Shi Yishuang stopped Shi Tianhe, who was about to greet Ning Cheng. Shi Tianhe asked in confusion, what's wrong? The woman next to Ning Cheng is our 9 Revolutions Sacred Tao Pond's Yanji. Shi Yishuang spoke with some shock and disbelief. Yanji? Shi Tianhe naturally wouldn't remember a nobody like Yanji. Therefore, when Shi Yishuang mentioned it, she couldn't remember it for a while. Shi Yishuang quickly reminded her, she's the Yanji who wanted to marry her spirit. Later, when she was washing her spirit. Before Shi Yishuang could finish, Shi Tianhe fully understood it and spoke with a stern look in her eyes. Wasn't she rescued by that demonic woman along with Shui Yueka? How could she be with Ning Cheng? Chapter 990. That woman called Yanji, her foundation has not been restored. Tianhe, go and ask a few questions. Don't invite Ning Cheng to the 9 revolving sacred Dao pond for the time being. He wanted to inquire about how Yanji came to be by Ning Cheng's side. If this person is really related to the demon woman who killed my 9 revolutions sacred Dao pond's holy emperor, my 9 revolutions sacred Dao pond will never let him off. However, we absolutely cannot touch him now. He is just a rogue cultivator. We are not afraid of him jumping into the sky. The woman with wrinkles on her face from the 9 revolutions sacred Dao pond sent a sound transmission to Shi Tianhe. Shi Tianhe nodded and understood what her uncle master meant. Congratulations to Pill Sage Ning for obtaining the Primordial Dao Pill Sage qualification card and representing the Grand Essence Realm in the 5 Realms Pill competition. Shi Tianhe came to Ning Cheng with Shi Yishuang and congratulated Ning Cheng with a smile. Even if Ning Cheng didn't like Shi Tianhe was still the deputy sect master of the 9 revolutions sacred Dao pond. Moreover, her cultivation far surpassed his. Now that Shi Tianhe personally came over, Ning Cheng could only return the greeting with cupped fists. Many thanks, Headmaster Shi. He also had one more thing on his mind, and that was to find that woman who looked very similar to Shi Qianghua. Ning Cheng also knew that with his current ability, he could not even think about it. Even if the 9 revolutions sacred Dao pond invited him, he wouldn't go casually. This sect had one thing in the open and another in the dark. Who knew if they would imprison him and use him to concoct pills for the 9 revolutions sacred Dao pond? Oh, junior apprentice Sister Yanji? Why are you here and together with Pill Sage Ning? Shi Yishuang looked at Yanji in surprise. It seemed that she had only just discovered Yanji's existence. Ning Cheng sneered in his heart. You keep pretending. There was no need to ask. Shi Tianhe and the others had already seen Yanji and had come over to inquire about the news. He would never admit to such a thing. If he did, even if he was a primordial Dao alchemy saint, it would be difficult for him to get through it. Ning Cheng was even more surprised as he asked, You know Yanji? Shi Yishuang quickly nodded. That's right. Junior apprentice Sister Yanji was originally an outer sect disciple of my 9 revolving sacred Dao pond. I wonder why Pill Sage Ning is with junior apprentice Sister Yanji? Ning Cheng showed a look of sudden understanding. So that's how it is. Yanji was originally with Shui Yueka. However, she seemed to be unconscious. When I saw Yanji's delicate and pretty face, I liked her in my heart. Shui Yu was a good person, plus she had something urgent to take care of, so she handed Yanji over to me. Fortunately, Pill Sage Jing Han exchanged some Dao fruits with me, which allowed me to obtain 2 5 elements heavenly fruits and wake Yanji up. Saying that, Ning Cheng also took Yanji's hand, his eyes filled with joy. His meaning was clear. I care a lot about Yanji, but your 9 revolutions sacred Dao pond doesn't want her anymore. If they wanted him, then they would shed all pretense of cordiality. One could say that most of Ning Cheng's words were true. He and Shui Yueka knew each other. This was something that everyone knew. From Yanji's mouth, it was Ruo Shi who rescued the 3 of them. Used the 5 elemental heavenly fruit just to wake her up? In the eyes of Shi Yishuang, Yanji was just a little outer sect disciple. Other than her somewhat beautiful appearance, she simply had no other merits. Ning Cheng had actually used a 5 elements heavenly fruit to wake her up. However, it was not even a complete recovery. Just because he fancied Yanji's appearance, this kind of luxury is simply, no cultivator would be so extravagant to save a woman. Because of this, Shi Yishuang couldn't believe it. Ning Cheng's face sank, and he spoke with an unhappy tone. Oh, does Fairy Yishuang think that I did something wrong? That's not what I meant. Shi Yishuang quickly explained. Ning Cheng was no longer the ant that she didn't put in her eyes before. After listening to Ning Cheng's explanation, Shi Tianhe breathed out a sigh of relief. As long as Ning Cheng didn't have anything to do with that demonic woman, she, the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond, could use Ning Cheng. Pill Sage Ning, please don't blame me. Yishuang just felt that the 5 elements heavenly fruit was a bit precious, so she didn't think it through. Shi Tianhe explained. Yanji has unparalleled beauty, and it's also a good fortune for her to follow Pill Sage Ning. After speaking, Shi Tianhe turned to Yanji and spoke with a gentle tone. Yanji, you are also a disciple of my 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. It's your luck that Pill Sage Ning took a fancy to you. From now on, when you follow Pill Sage Ning, you have to do your part. Yanji quickly bowed. Shi Tianhe was right. In any case, she was indeed a disciple of the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. Shi Tianhe spoke to Yanji in a reprimanding tone, which made Ning Cheng feel very uncomfortable. But he couldn't say anything about it. He just smiled and said, I'm just a person who has this hobby. Whenever I see a beautiful woman, my heart itches. Last time, I saw a woman from the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond in the Grand Essence Mystic Realm. Since then, I've been thinking about her. Shi Tianhe felt overjoyed when she heard Ning Cheng's words. She was afraid that Ning Cheng wouldn't take a fancy to a female disciple of my 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. But as long as he took a fancy to her, things would be much easier. Although Yanji was a disciple of the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond, she definitely didn't have a sense of belonging. After all, the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond wanted to carry out a spiritual union with her. It would be strange if she still had a sense of belonging. Yishuang, who did Pill Sage Ning take a fancy to? Shi Tianhe couldn't wait to call Ning Cheng to the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. Shi Yishuang quickly sent a sound transmission to Shi Tianhe. She's a sacred woman who has reincarnated 9 times. Shi Yishuang didn't need Shi Yishuang to continue. Shi Tianhe already knew that this matter was impossible. Even if Ning Cheng took a fancy to Shi Yishuang, she might even agree to this matter. Even if Ning Cheng was a primordial chaos pill sage, he couldn't take away a sacred woman who had reincarnated 9 times from the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. This junior will take his leave. Ning Cheng didn't get the answer he wanted. He simply said a few words and quickly left with Yanji and the others. The few people from the Sunken Fish Palace were not far from Ning Cheng. Therefore, they heard the conversation between Ning Cheng, Shi Tianhe and Shi Yishuang. Aunt Xian, this Ning Cheng has the ability, but he's too. The woman named Yueshu next to Sun Rushuan shook her head. Sun Rushuan looked at Ning Cheng's disappearing back and pondered for a moment before saying, Yueshu, maybe your method will work. If you want to, you can go and test him. If my Sunken Fish Palace has a primordial Dao pill sage to help, then. Sun Rushuan didn't continue, but the 2 disciples next to her understood what she meant. Yueshu nodded. Aunt Xian, that's what I plan to do. You can rest assured that I'm more confident now. She hadn't seen the other woman from the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond that Ning Cheng had taken a fancy to. She had seen Yanji, but she wasn't as good as her. If he wants your primordial yin, you can also give it to him. Seeing Yueshu nod, Sun Rushuan suddenly added another sentence. Yueshu's expression changed, but she immediately said, I can't do that. Aunt Xian, you can rest assured that even if I don't give anything, he will obediently work for my Sunken Fish Palace. Zhongming Yuxiu, who hadn't spoken until now, suddenly interjected, Senior Apprentice Sister Yueshu, I'm afraid you don't know him well enough. Junior Apprentice Sister Ji, the reason why I said that to Shi Tianhe was because I suspected that Qianghua was in the 9 Revolutions Sacred Dao Pond. After returning to the rest stop, Ning Cheng explained to Yanji. Yanji already knew that Shi Qianghua and Ji Luofei were Ning Cheng's Dao companions. Now that Ning Cheng explained it, she smiled and said, Big brother, you can go save Junior Apprentice Sister Hanrui. What she meant was that Ning Cheng didn't need to explain these things to her. If Ning Cheng needed to explain these things to her, she wouldn't have risked her life to find Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng nodded and directly entered the true spirit world. Sun Hanrui, under the protection of Ning Cheng's array formation, looked as if she had fallen asleep except for her pale face. Ning Cheng took out a 6-yin soul pill and put it into Sun Hanrui's mouth. The moment the 6-yin soul pill entered Sun Hanrui's mouth, it directly transformed into a Dao Core's aura and seeped into Sun Hanrui's body. An hour passed by, but Sun Hanrui showed no signs of recovering. Ning Cheng knew that this matter couldn't be rushed. The 6-yin soul pill could regenerate a person's soul, but sometimes it would take several years. Moreover, taking the 6-yin soul pill at the place of death would have a much better effect. It could even gather the scattered soul, without the need for a soul to regenerate. When there was a chance, Ning Cheng decided to take Sun Hanrui to the Rainbow Fall Sword sect in the Graceful Star mainland and leave Sun Hanrui in the Rainbow Fall Sword sect. When Ning Cheng came out of the true spirit world, Jian Sanshan was waiting for him outside. He knew that Ning Cheng wanted to leave the Heaven Essence Sacred City, so he specially came over. "Brother Jian, I have an urgent matter to take Yen Ji to the Grand Essence Ruins. Xen Xiu and Wu Qihong will follow behind you to learn the Tao of Alchemy. I will return to the Heaven Essence Sacred City before participating in the 5 Realms Pill competition." Although Ning Cheng had already discussed this matter with Sword 3 Mountain, but now that he was about to leave, he still cautiously asked once again. In fact, with his current status, even if he didn't follow Jian Sanshan, Xen Xiu and Wu Qihong's status would make everyone want to curry favor with them. No one would dare to find trouble with them unless they didn't want to live. Not waiting for Jian Sanshan to speak, Xen Xiu, who stood on the side, spoke up. "Big brother Ning, senior apprentice brother Jian told me and junior apprentice brother Qihong that we should follow behind him to learn the Tao of Alchemy. Moreover, senior apprentice brother Jian also helped us find a pill house in the Heaven Essence Sacred City." Jian Sanshan smiled. "Brother Ning, I set up a pill house in the Heaven Essence Sacred City in your name. From now on, I will also make a living in the pill house." "Many thanks, brother Jian." Ning Cheng quickly stood up and thanked him. He naturally understood the meaning behind Jian Sanshan's words. Opening a pill house in his name was for the sake of fame and for the sake of Xen Xiu and Wu Qihong. As for making a living in the Tao of Alchemy, it was all for the sake of helping them. After all, Xen Xiu and Wu Qihong's Tao of Alchemy was still too low. If the two of them wanted to open a pill house, they needed at least one of them to be a Tao sculpting pill sage. Ning Cheng immediately thought of the large number of Tao pills he refined using Tao fruits when he went into seclusion. If he put these Tao pills in the pill house, the business of the pill house would definitely skyrocket. But Ning Cheng quickly dispelled this idea. Tao pills were too precious. If he dared to do this, it would only increase the danger for Jian Sanshan and the others. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng just took out some spirit pills below the Tao-raising realm and gave them to Xen Xiu. After giving some instructions, he left the Heaven Essence Sacred City with Yen Ji, Jian Sanshan, and the others. Chapter 991. Ning Cheng left the Heaven Essence Sacred City. Except for a few people from Sword 3 Mountains, he didn't tell anyone about it. He knew that the Void Star sect would never give up. Therefore, to avoid being stopped by the Void Star sect, he decided to sneak out of the Heaven Essence Sacred City. He didn't even take the teleportation array. In fact, Ning Cheng's guess was right. Not long after he left, the Void Star sect's Blackface sect master found the rest stop he was staying in. Not only the Void Star sect, but the other sects also came to pay a visit. No one expected that Ning Cheng would suddenly leave. After all, Ning Cheng still had to wait for the Pill Association to show Ning Cheng the list of things given by the sects that supported him. Who would have thought that Ning Cheng wouldn't even wait for such benefits and would sneak out of Heaven Essence Sacred City? Seniors, my senior apprentice brother has already left Heaven Essence Sacred City. As for where he went, I don't know. Xen Xiu stood at the door of Ning Cheng's room in the rest stop and explained to the group of cultivators who came to visit Ning Cheng. Tell him that the Void Star sect's sect master Wu Buffing has come to visit. Wu Buffing's face was already dark to begin with, but after hearing Xen Xiu's words, his face turned even darker, as though black water was about to drip out of it. When the others heard that Ning Cheng wasn't in the Heaven Essence Sacred City, they immediately left after exchanging a few polite words. But even if he did not seal it, he still had to ask Ning Qing to help him refine the heaven-replenishing bone pattern pill. Beside Wu Buffing were Percy and the skeleton-like Kong Zhu. Xen Xiu frowned slightly and spoke again. Senior Wu, my senior apprentice brother isn't in Heaven Essence Sacred City. Moreover, junior marshal brother and I are about to leave and find a rest stop. If senior does not believe me, then please go in and take a look for yourself. After saying that, Xen Xiu opened the restriction on the door and stepped aside. Wu Buffing snorted. He really wanted to go in and have a look. However, he also knew that if he really dared to go in and check it out, then regardless of whether Ning Qing was there or not, there would not be any leeway between him and Ning Qing. When Ning Qing left the pill discussion public square, he had carefully inquired about Ning Qing's past. Ning Qing was definitely not a person who could be threatened. Buffing, let's go. I've lived for so many years, living for another few hundred years shouldn't be a problem, Kong Zhu, who was standing at the side, suddenly said. He did not know what kind of person Ning Qing was, but from the information he had obtained, he was sure that Ning Qing would not eat hard. If Ning Qing could be threatened, he would have already compromised with Man Huishan. Wu Buffing clenched his teeth. He knew what Ancestor Kong meant. That is to wait for a period of time, and once they have a good relationship with Ning Qing, they would then ask Ning Qing to refine pills for them. He regretted not helping Ning Qing during the time when Ning Qing was testing out the pills. As a result, the little silver dragon from the Grand Essence Sea ended up benefiting from it. Let's go. Wu Buffing swallowed his depression and didn't dare to enter the room to search for Ning Qing. When I heard junior sister Rushua say that you had fallen, I made up my mind to kill Lifeless Poison Hand and Heartless Monk to avenge you. The heavens have taken pity on me. I'm still alive and with you. In the Grand Essence Ruins Quest Hall, Yanji stood beside Ning Qing and spoke with a trembling voice. If it were not for her wanting to join the sect, and working hard to improve her cultivation to take revenge for Ning Qing, how could she have met Ning Qing again? At this time, the Heartless Monk's wanted mission had long since been removed, but she was already standing next to Ning Qing. Junior apprentice Sister Ji. Ning Qing tightly grasped Yanji's hand. Because of what Yanji had experienced, even if it was more dangerous, he would help Yanji find the hidden beautiful star gold leaf. Hee, it's just the funniest joke I've ever heard. Someone in the Grand Essence Ruins Quest Hall said that he wanted to kill Heartless Monk and Lifeless Poison Hand. A gloomy voice rang out. Even though it was daytime, the entire mission hall still felt a little gloomy and cold. When the surrounding cultivators heard this voice, they couldn't help but step aside. Ning Qing and Yanji immediately saw a Taoist holding a fly whisk in his hand. At this moment this Taoist was sizing up Ning Qing and Yanji from top to bottom. When Yanji saw the fly whisk in the hands of the Taoist, she subconsciously took a step back. The horsetail whisk in other people's hands was refined from the hair of demon beasts, but the horsetail whisk in this Taoist's hands seemed to be made from a combination of intestines. When other Taoists held the fly whisk, they had an air of immortality around them, but he only had an air of evil. Or you? Ning Qing held Yanji's hand and asked in a cold voice. Yanji's foundation had been completely destroyed, and she had even lost all of her cultivation. This Taoist's imposing aura immediately affected Yanji. You don't know me? The Taoist looked at Ning Qing in doubt. He even thought that Ning Qing was joking. In the distance, some cultivators who didn't know Ning Qing shook their heads secretly. Ning Qing was a dead man. Among the Grand Essence Ruins for nothings, apart from the faceless woman, only this gutless man dared to contradict the gutless man. Moreover, this person had a disgusting habit of killing beautiful women and refining them into horsetail whisks. Who the hell are you? Why should I know you? Are you a Tao Essence expert or a Tao Perfection expert? Ning Qing asked sarcastically. This Taoist was just an early-stage Tao birth cultivator. In Ning Qing's eyes, this Taoist was nothing. Yet he dared to act so arrogantly? One had to know that the people he made friends with in Heaven Essence Sacred City were either Tao Essence or Primordial Chaos. Tao birth? Just stand aside. Yanji suddenly remembered who this Taoist was and quickly whispered in Ning Qing's ear. This person is called Xian Wusheng. He also has a nickname called Gutless Man together with Lifeless Poison Hand. Heartless monk and faceless woman, they are known as the Grand Essence Ruins Four Nothings. Ning Cheng had heard of the Four Nothings of the Grand Essence Ruins, including Lifeless Poison Hand and Heartless Monk. Man Huishan killed Lifeless Poison Hand, and Heartless Monk escaped to the Grand Essence Ruins. But now that Man Huishan found Ning Cheng, the Heartless Monk's bounty had also been removed. He never expected to see Gutless Man in this place. Did this Gutless Man have a good relationship with Heartless Monk and Lifeless Poison Hand? Hee, sister is right. My horsetail whisk is made from the intestines of top-quality beauties and countless precious materials. Lifeless Poison Hand gave me his sister's intestines, so he is also my relative. If you want to kill Lifeless Poison Hand, then I will have to help him a little. Although your cultivation isn't good, you can barely add a strand of intestine to my horsetail whisk. After Gutless Man finished speaking, his oppressive aura blasted towards Ning Cheng and Yen Ji. Lifeless Poison Hand had already died a long time ago. He only said those words to find an excuse. Even he didn't dare to make a move in the Grand Essence Ruins quest hall. He wanted to use his own aura to force Ning Cheng and Yen Ji to flee, and then chase after them to kill them. When Ning Cheng heard Gutless Man's last words, he had already brought out his long spear. Gutless Man wanted to force Ning Cheng and Yen Ji to leave the Grand Essence Ruins before making a move. But the moment Ning Cheng heard Gutless Man say that he wanted to kill Yen Ji to refine his horsetail whisk, his long spear swept towards Gutless Man. Gutless Man's imposing aura, stimulated by Ning Cheng's killing intent, suddenly scattered in all directions. It even blew apart the surrounding quest array formation screen. A burst of suffocating aura suppressed him, and Gutless Man felt the entire starry sky of the universe changing. His vitality converged as if he wanted to return to the wilderness. Was this the aura of the Grand Tao? Before Gutless Man could react, Ning Cheng's long spear directly ignored space and arrived in front of him. Gutless Man no longer dared to treat Ning Cheng as an ant. The horsetail whisk in his hand transformed into a net of shadows. Looking from afar, it looked like endless intestines crisscrossing through space. Boom. The spirit essence in the space surged, causing the surroundings to explode. The entire quest hall of the Grand Essence Ruins public square trembled. Stop. With just one exchange, Gutless Man understood that he wasn't Ning Cheng's opponent. Tao Nourishment Holy Emperors were considered powerhouses in the Grand Essence Ruins. Since when did someone more powerful than him appear? Ning Cheng acted as if he didn't hear anything. The endless intestines that his long spear blasted apart made him feel sick. His long spear paused in the torn space, and then a setting sun appeared at the tip of the spear. There was no time between heaven and earth, only the setting sun. The time between heaven and earth disappeared at this moment, leaving only the setting sun at dusk. This was the sublimation of Ning Cheng Sunset's twilight. After bringing out Sunset's twilight, time no longer existed between heaven and earth, only the dusk of life. Time came to a standstill, and Gutless Man stared at the setting sun with wide eyes. He didn't know what to do next. A tingling pain came from between his eyebrows, and the dusk in front of him disappeared. The time between heaven and earth began to flow again, and he screamed in horror, "No!" Poof! Blood burst out, and Ning Cheng's long spear blasted apart Gutless Man's head, splashing a red light. Gutless Man's hideous essence spirit overflowed, and just as he was about to escape from the hall, Ning Cheng's flames swept over. With another tearing scream, Gutless Man's spirit soul extinguished. In just a few breaths, Ning Cheng killed Gutless Man, who had recently reached the Tao Nourishment realm. Stop! Who dares to start a fight in my Grand Essence Ruins quest hall? Ning Cheng had just killed Gutless Man when a powerful aura rushed towards Ning Cheng. Then, a shadow fell in front of Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's long spear swept away the suppressive aura. He then pulled Yen Ji to look at the person who fell in front of him. It was a man wearing the robes of the Grand Essence Ruins quest hall, with a Tao transformation cultivation. You dare to kill people in the quest hall? After the man landed, he stared at Ning Cheng and spoke with strong killing intent. It wasn't until this moment that the rest of the people in the quest hall reacted. The arrogant Gutless Man died. Moreover, he died in the Grand Essence Ruins quest hall. This was the most shocking news in the entire Grand Essence ruins. Come with me. Don't make me do it. The man's domain stretched out and instantly sealed Ning Cheng's path and the surrounding space. Ning Cheng said with a faint voice, "Are you sure you want me to go with you?" The man snorted and was about to bring out his weapon when he suddenly heard the surrounding cultivators talking. "I recognize him. That person is Ning Cheng, the one wanted by barbarian dragon Holy Emperor." "What? It's him? He dared to come to the Grand Essence ruins?" Chapter 992. Huh. A hearty laugh came. "Pill Sage Ning, you actually came to my Grand Essence ruins. Sorry for not welcoming you." When the laughter came, it was still in the distance. But when the words "sorry for not welcoming you" came out, a man in blue robes appeared in front of Ning Cheng. The man in blue robes cupped his fists. "Grand Essence ruins Gong Yangdi greets Pill Sage Ning. Senior Gong is the deacon of the Grand Essence ruins quest hall." Fearing that Ning Cheng didn't know Gong Yangdi, Yan Ji quickly whispered. The Grand Essence ruins quest hall was jointly established by the major sects of the Grand Essence domain. Since Gong Yangdi was the deacon here, he obviously knew that Ning Cheng was a Dao Essence Pill Sage. In terms of cultivation, Gong Yangdi's cultivation was much higher than Ning Cheng's. He was a Dao Essence powerhouse. However, everyone knew that a Dao Essence Pill Sage had a much higher status than a Dao Essence Holy Emperor in the Grand Essence realm. Ning Cheng quickly cupped his fists. "Ning Cheng greets Senior Gong. Previously, that gutless intestine disrespected my junior apprentice sister, and I killed him in a fit of anger. I feel sorry for his actions, and I'm willing to compensate for your losses." Ning Cheng's view was different from others. Even if you were a Dao Essence Pill Sage without cultivation, you would only be a slag in front of a Dao Essence Holy Emperor. A Dao Essence Holy Emperor would give you face in a public place. Once there was no one around who would recognize you as a Dao Essence Pill Sage. As long as you were strong enough, even if you didn't know alchemy, you wouldn't feel fear. This truth, Ning Cheng was naturally clear about it. Gong Yangdi laughed again. "Gutless intestine was a scum. Pill Sage Ning killed him and did a good deed for the Grand Essence ruins. Since Pill Sage Ning thinks highly of this Gong, you don't have to call me senior. It's this Gong's fortune to be friends with Pill Sage Ning." Ning Cheng understood what Gong Yangdi was thinking. After all, he was a Dao Essence Pill Sage, so it was normal for Gong Yangdi to want to make friends with him. "Then I'll just call you Brother Gong. Brother Gong can also call me by my name." Since Gong Yangdi wanted to make friends with Ning Cheng naturally wouldn't refuse. One more friend, one more path. Not to mention that Gong Yangdi was a Dao Essence Holy Emperor with great power. In the Grand Essence Ruins public square, he was practically a local emperor. Maybe in the future he would need Gong Yangdi's help. Gong Yangdi, who had obtained the friendship of a primordial Dao alchemy sage, felt even more comfortable in his heart. "Brother Ning, if you don't mind, why don't you come to my immortal cave and have a taste of my newly obtained divine tea?" Ning Cheng cupped his fists and spoke. "Elder Brother Gong, I still have some urgent matters to attend to, so I will have to leave first. I can only disturb you next time." After saying that, Ning Cheng seemed to have thought of something and asked, "Brother Gong, I want to inquire about the Grand Essence Ruins Burial Shadow Blue Sand. Does Brother Gong have a map of this place?" Burial Shadow Blue Sands? Gong Yangdi looked at Ning Cheng in doubt. This place was a land of death. The Dao Actualization Man suddenly pointed at the gutless man on the ground and said, "Pill Sage Ning, Gutless Man and Heartless Monk were once chased by a Dao Actualization Divine Emperor. Later, the two of them escaped to the Grand Essence Ruins Burial Shadow Blue Sand and killed that Dao Transformation expert in the Burial Shadow Blue Sand." Ning Cheng looked down at the gutless man, whose head had exploded. He couldn't help but wonder how this fellow was so powerful. Yet he easily killed him in the quest hall. Then Ning Cheng thought of something. He raised his hand and grabbed the gutless man's ring. Sweeping his spiritual consciousness inside, he quickly grabbed a dozen map jade strips from the gutless man's ring. Ning Cheng grabbed the map jade strips and scanned them with his spiritual consciousness. In just a moment, he found the map jade strip of the Burial Shadow Blue Sand. He felt overjoyed. This really was effortless. Did this fellow come here to deliver the map? However, Ning Cheng quickly saw that this map was just a corner of the map. It might not be of much use to him at all, but it was better than nothing. In the gutless man's ring, apart from the map jade strips, there were also a bunch of women's products. From this, one could tell how many female cultivators this gutless man had killed. Ning Cheng put away the jade strip containing the map and handed the ring to Gong Yangdi before speaking. "Brother Gong, this ring is my compensation." There was also a pile of spirit crystals in the ring, which should be enough for the compensation. After all, this place was a public place. Even if Gong Yangdi wanted to befriend Ning Cheng, he had to show some sincerity for fighting and destroying things here. Gong Yangdi understood Ning Cheng's meaning. Moreover, he also guessed that Ning Cheng had found something he needed in Gong Yangdi's ring. Therefore, he simply took the ring and said, "Okay, then we'll talk after you come back." Seeing Ning Cheng kill the gutless man in the quest hall and leave the Grand Essence Ruins quest hall without anything happening to him, even receiving an invitation from Gong Yangdi, the cultivators in the quest hall immediately started talking about it. What kind of background did Ning Cheng have? How could he turn around so magnificently? In the depths of the Grand Essence Ruins, Ning Cheng put away the starry sky wheel and let Yen Ji enter the true spirit world. Even if Yen Ji still had her cultivation, she wouldn't be of much help in this place. The burial shadow blue sand was one of the 5 forbidden areas of the Grand Essence Ruins. No matter how high one's cultivation was, the possibility of leaving after coming in was very small. Out of 100 people who entered, no more than 10 would leave. Moreover, most of the people who left did so because of luck. Therefore, for the gutless man and the heartless monk to enter the burial shadow blue sand and successfully kill their opponents before coming out, it was definitely a stroke of luck. Ning Cheng stood outside the burial shadow blue sand. He hadn't even entered when he saw a blue color. Looking from afar, it looked like a sea of rolling waves. Not only did it look beautiful, but it also gave off a majestic aura. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could only touch the outside of these rolling sand shadows and couldn't penetrate it at all. This reminded Ning Cheng of the Grand Essence Mystic Realm's Lost Stone Forest. His spiritual consciousness had also been wrapped up in it and couldn't stretch out. The burial shadow blue sand map of the gutless man was just a corner of the burial shadow blue sand. This map could only be used by luck. At least for now, it had no use to Ning Cheng. Just when Ning Cheng was about to enter the burial shadow blue sand, a white figure landed not far from Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's gaze swept over and saw a woman in a white dress. The white dress perfectly outlined her curvaceous body. Her breasts protruded all the way to her waist, forming a perfect curve. This curve extended backward again, forming another perfect curve. Finally, it landed on the pair of calves that were half covered by the skirt. A mature and seductive woman's aura made Ning Cheng's lower abdomen slightly warm. Ning Cheng was startled. He was a Tao sculpting holy emperor, so how could he be tempted by a woman? Taking a deep breath, Ning Cheng found that this woman had a white filial flower on her head. From this, he could tell that this woman had just lost a man. This woman definitely didn't look stunning, but she could still attract people. From the looks of it, she must have cultivated a kind of charm technique. Otherwise, with his willpower, he wouldn't have been tempted in such a situation. Ning Cheng retracted his gaze and didn't look at this woman again. He knew that this woman didn't mean to tempt him just now. Seeing Ning Cheng staring at her, the woman frowned slightly. She didn't stay in the same place and instantly rushed into the burial shadow blue sand and quickly disappeared. Ning Cheng also didn't stay outside and slowly walked into the burial shadow blue sand. He came to the burial shadow blue sand to look for the dim star gold hidden leaf. As long as he found this leaf, he would immediately retreat. Even if there were many good things in the burial shadow blue sand, he wouldn't stay here. As soon as he entered the burial shadow blue sand, Ning Cheng was immediately wrapped up by the endless blue sand. The blue sand had a powerful whirlpool that almost swept Ning Cheng away. At this moment, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness felt bound. Only when he brought out a spiritual consciousness blade or a spiritual consciousness storm could his spiritual consciousness stretch out dozens of meters. This consumed too much of his spiritual consciousness. Ning Cheng didn't want to consume too much energy after just entering the burial shadow blue sand. He directly brought out the everlasting blue Thunder City. Ning Cheng had almost completely refined the everlasting blue Thunder City. Apart from not having an artifact spirit, it didn't look much different from a normal Thunderlight City. After bringing out the everlasting blue Thunder City, the blue Thunder City immediately blocked the rolling blue sand. Only then did Ning Cheng relax. Only then did he have time to grab a handful of the blue sand and examine it. The blue sand looked just like ordinary sand, except for the blue color, there didn't seem to be any difference. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept into the blue sand and wanted to take a closer look at what kind of material this blue sand was made of. However, the handful of blue sand in his hand suddenly started to turn blurry. In just a few short breaths, this handful of blue sand disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng once again grabbed a handful of blue sand in amazement. Just like before, this blue sand would disappear after a while. What a strange burial shadow blue sand, Ning Cheng secretly marveled in his heart. This was the first time he had seen this kind of strange sand. The burial shadow blue sand was surrounded by nothing but the rolling and whistling blue sand. Even the ground was made of blue sand. Ning Cheng continued to move deeper into the burial shadow blue sand, leaving behind some spiritual consciousness imprints in the depths of the ground. 10 days later, Ning Cheng didn't even see a single weed, not to mention a single hidden beautiful star gold leaf. On the 11th day, Ning Cheng was carefully identifying his position when a faint voice came from the depths of the rolling blue sand. Ning Cheng could only hear 4 words, Ji Omer, Ji Omer. Moreover, these 4 words were repeated over and over again, endlessly. Ning Cheng didn't understand the meaning of these 4 words at all. He was just about to go and take a look when he saw a cultivator without half of his body escaping from not far away. His face was filled with panic, as if he had encountered something terrible. "Hurry up, the burial shadow demon is here." A hoarse voice rang in Ning Cheng's ears. Immediately, Ning Cheng saw a woman with disheveled clothes and disheveled hair brush past him. It was the woman he saw before entering the burial shadow blue sand. This woman had at least a Tao transformation realm cultivation, but she was in such a sorry state. What kind of terrifying thing was this burial shadow demon? Why did it keep calling out, Ji Omer? Although Ning Cheng really wanted to know what this thing was, he could only escape at this moment. He wasn't confident enough to stop a demon that even Tao transformation divine emperors feared. Chapter 993. Although he couldn't extend his spiritual consciousness in the burial shadow blue sand, his spirit essence wasn't affected. However, once he stimulated his spirit essence, the faster he moved, the greater the hindrance in the burial shadow blue sand. The voice of Ji Ongmur behind him became clearer and clearer, and Ning Cheng could even feel the threat of death. A figure rushed past Ning Cheng, and each of these figures had a higher cultivation than Ning Cheng. From this, it could be seen that despite the danger of the burial shadow blue sand, many people still came here. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness forcibly broke through the blue sand behind him and saw a Tao Nourishment Holy Emperor get swept away by an invisible force. In just a moment, his aura disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng no longer dared to hold back. His spiritual consciousness storm swept out and formed a spiritual consciousness domain. The surrounding resistance became weak at this moment, and Ning Cheng's speed rose rapidly. The holy emperors who originally surpassed Ning Cheng were now left behind by Ning Cheng. Just when Ning Cheng was about to breathe a sigh of relief, he suddenly felt a chill behind him. A dark mouth suddenly opened up from the blue sand and bit towards Ning Cheng. There were no signs, and there were no fluctuations in the blue sand. Gotcha! The big mouth bit down on Ning Cheng's everlasting blue thunder fort. Lightning splashed everywhere, and the spirit essence backlashed back. Ning Cheng's heart started to churn. Ning Cheng quickly brought out his long spear and swept out with his spiritual consciousness. However, he couldn't detect anything else. Apart from the blue sand, there was only rolling blue sand around him. Ning Cheng secretly sucked in a breath of cold air. Fortunately, he didn't put away the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. Otherwise, even with that attack, he wouldn't have survived. Even if he managed to escape that bite, he would still end up injured. The burial shadow blue sand hid a threat that he couldn't sense at all, which made Ning Cheng even more cautious. Perhaps because of Ning Cheng's vigilance, after running for half a day, he didn't suffer any more sneak attacks. Ning Cheng also no longer felt the terrifying threat of death, which slowed down his pace. Ning Cheng sensed a rich spiritual qi. Ning Cheng's gaze swept over and found that he was standing in front of a lake. The blue sand here was much weaker, and the closer he got to the lake, the less blue sand there was. 100 meters away from the lake, there wasn't even a trace of blue sand. One could clearly see the verdant grass on the other side of the lake. Since entering the burial shadow blue sand field, this was the first time that Ning Cheng saw a bluish-green color. Ning Cheng did not act rashly. Instead, he stretched out his spiritual consciousness and forcibly checked the surroundings. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, he could clearly see that this was an array formation. This lake was the base of the array formation. This array formation weakened the blue sand of the burial shadow blue sand, forming a slightly safer zone. After understanding that this was an array formation, Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air in his heart. Ning Cheng already knew how terrifying the power of the burial shadow blue sand was. With his strength, if he encountered danger here, he could only escape or barely protect himself. However, the formation here had actually blocked such a terrifying blue sand storm. What kind of strength and Dao validation level was required to set up such a formation? Ning Cheng carefully bypassed the lake and walked to the opposite side. His eyes suddenly opened up, and a path made of stones extended into the distance. After confirming that there were no problems with this path, Ning Cheng put away the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort and stepped onto the stone path. The moment Ning Cheng set foot on this path, the shackles on his spiritual consciousness completely disappeared, and a huge verdant land appeared in front of him. There were several cultivators here, and Ning Cheng soon saw the disheveled woman in the white dress among these figures. Ning Cheng felt slightly relieved. Since the woman in the white dress had also escaped here, it meant that this place should be safe for the time being. He sped up and walked over. These people had been in the burial shadow blue sand longer than him, so they should know about the situation here. Perhaps he could find out what that Jiang Mer was, and if there was anyone here who knew about the hidden star gold leaf. But Ning Cheng soon felt that something was wrong. He saw several dead bodies here, and these corpses had clearly been killed not long ago. There were also 2 corpses next to the woman in the white dress. When the woman in the white dress saw Ning Cheng come over, she revealed a surprised look. She seemed to be wondering how Ning Cheng could escape here with his cultivation level. Seeing the woman in the white dress look at him, Ning Cheng nodded to her. Before this charming widow escaped, she had reminded him, and he was very grateful to her in his heart. The woman in the white dress had a dignified expression and didn't respond to Ning Cheng. Opposite her were 5 Dao Transformation Divine Emperors. These 5 seemed to be confronting the woman in the white dress. "Take out the storage ring and fuck off." A cold voice fell into Ning Cheng's ears. The one who spoke was one of the 5 people on the opposite side. Ning Cheng didn't think he could beat even 1 Dao Transformation Divine Emperor, let alone 5 Dao Transformation Divine Emperors. "You want my storage ring?" Ning Cheng looked at the 5 Dao Transformation Divine Emperors and asked. At this moment, he completely understood where the corpses on the ground came from. These people had escaped from the burial shadow fiend, and after arriving here, they were killed by the few who had arrived first. As for why this widow was still alive, it was obvious. Ning Cheng subconsciously took 2 steps back. He couldn't beat them, but couldn't he just leave? "You can't go out, you'll die for sure." The woman in the white dress's voice sounded again. "I what?" Ning Cheng asked subconsciously. The woman in the white dress looked at Ning Cheng in confusion. "Don't you know how terrifying the burial shadow demon is?" Ning Cheng frowned. "We've already escaped the threat range of the burial shadow demon, right?" "Ah." The Dao Transformation Divine Emperor who wanted Ning Cheng to hand over the storage ring laughed as if he had heard the funniest joke. Then he charged at Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng was a mere Dao molding divine emperor and a Dao actualization divine emperor. No one else moved. This Dao transformation divine emperor clearly didn't put Ning Cheng in his eyes. He didn't even take out his magic treasure and just grabbed at Ning Cheng. When his big hand grasped down, the space around him completely fell under his control. The powerful imposing aura directly suppressed Ning Cheng to the point that he could not even budge. If it was an ordinary Dao molding early-stage divine emperor, they wouldn't be able to resist at all under the pressure of a Dao transformation middle-stage divine emperor. Ning Cheng sneered in his heart. This guy thought he was a Dao integration divine emperor at the second step of Dao vindication. He dared to use this method against him? Just when Ning Cheng was ready to bring out his long spear, another figure rushed in. This Dao actualization divine emperor stopped when he saw this figure charge in. "Senior Sister Fong Lin? You're here too?" The person immediately saw the woman in the white dress and called out in surprise. "Junior brother Ho Fu." The woman in the white dress replied. Her attention was still on the 5 Dao transformation divine emperors. "They want to rob here?" Ho Fu soon realized what was going on and stared at the 5 Dao actualization divine emperors. "Tak, if you can keep this woman, then keep her. If you can't, then kill her." Seeing another Dao transformation divine emperor and this man and woman knew each other, the 5 lost their patience. The 5 people on the other side lost their patience and charged at the charming widow and Ho Fu. As for Ning Cheng, perhaps in their eyes, he was just an extra. The woman in the white dress and Ho Fu immediately took out their magic treasures. There were only 2 of them while there were 5 of them. Before they even started fighting, they were completely suppressed. Ning Cheng knew that he couldn't just stand by and watch now. These 5 didn't put him in their eyes because of his cultivation level. When these 5 killed the woman in the white dress and Ho Fu, it would be his death. When the 5 surrounded the woman in the white dress and Ho Fu, Ning Cheng moved. He took out the 7 Bridges Realm book. He didn't have the right to hold back against these experts. The pale white first bridge solidified. As soon as it was taken out, it fused with the yin qi of the 7 Bridges Realm book and formed a stone bridge. The churning river of blood became increasingly majestic, like a river flowing backwards, directly seeping into one's soul. The pale white stone bridge instantly swept in the 7 Dao transformation divine emperors. Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness hurt and he spat out blood. This is the first bridge of helplessness. 1 Dao actualization divine emperors saw the words first bridge of helplessness and called out in shock. Ning Cheng felt his sea of consciousness rumble. It was as though the first bridge of helplessness was going to collapse and his sea of consciousness was going to explode. At this moment, the 5 people trapped by the first bridge of helplessness didn't even move. "You two hurry up and attack. The 3 of us are in the same boat." Seeing the woman in the white dress and Ho Fu in front of the first bridge of helplessness, Ning Cheng roared and charged into the first bridge. He took out his spear and swept towards one of the Dao transformation divine emperors. The reason he dared to use the first bridge of helplessness to trap these 7 people was because he was sure that the woman in the white dress and Ho Fu would join forces with him. Before Ho Fu could react, the woman in the white dress knew what Ning Cheng meant. She took out her magic treasure and attacked one of the Dao transformation divine emperors. At the same time, she sent a voice transmission to Ho Fu. No matter what Ning Cheng was thinking, she could only choose to cooperate with Ning Cheng first. Once Ning Cheng died, she and Ho Fu would definitely be killed by the other 5. Ho Fu also woke up and took out his battle dragon pill cauldron and attacked one of the Dao transformation divine emperors. Since the woman in the white dress and Ho Fu chose to help Ning Cheng, the pressure on Ning Cheng lessened. His first bridge of helplessness created a cold wind. The blood river under the bridge of helplessness was like a giant hammer that smashed into the chest of each Dao transformation divine emperor. Because the first bridge of helplessness was Ning Cheng's magic treasure and also a god art, the woman in the white dress and Ho Fu didn't feel much pressure. Most of the pressure was shared by the other 5. In just a few seconds, Ning Cheng, the woman in the white dress and Ho Fu gained the upper hand with the help of the first bridge of helplessness. However, Ning Cheng knew that this upper hand was only temporary. He anxiously sent a sound transmission to the charming widow and Ho Fu. My bridge of coping can only suppress them for a dozen breaths at most. During these dozen breaths, we must kill one of them. Chapter 994. After the white-robed woman and Ho Fu heard Ning Cheng's words, they immediately went all out, without holding back even the slightest of means. They didn't think that Ning Cheng was lying to them. No matter how powerful the Seven Bridges divine art was, Ning Cheng was just a Dao molding divine emperor. One Dao molding divine emperor was able to use 7 bridges to trap 3 Dao actualization divine emperors for more than 10 seconds. The white-robed woman and Ho Fu attacked with full power. The pressure on the 2 Dao actualization divine emperors increased drastically. On top of that, they were in the 7 bridges of Peace City, which made them even more anxious. The Dao actualization divine emperor Ning Cheng was the one who wanted to capture Ning Cheng like an ant. At this moment, within Ning Cheng's 7 bridges realm book, Ning Cheng's spear patterns sealed him, causing him to panic. Ning Cheng was just a Dao molding divine emperor, yet he was this powerful. He even wanted to kill Ning Cheng with a casual slap. This Dao actualization divine emperor didn't want to fight with Ning Cheng on the first bridge. He was thinking about how to get out of the first bridge. He worried that Ning Cheng might have some kind of backup plan. Therefore, while trying to find a way to rush out of the bridge of coping, he also focused most of his attention on defending against Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng knew that even in the first bridge of coping, it wouldn't be easy for him to kill this Dao actualization divine emperor. If there was only one Dao actualization divine emperor, he believed he could kill him after falling into the first bridge of helplessness. Now that there were 5 people on the first bridge of coping, he had to block 3 of them by himself. This Dao actualization divine emperor didn't want to fight anymore. This was the best for Ning Cheng. While the spear rune and the Dao actualization divine emperor were in a stalemate, Ning Cheng's spear suddenly changed directions. A huge sun smashed towards the Dao actualization divine emperor fighting the white-robed woman. The woman in the white dress was using all her strength to fight against her opponent. She wanted to kill one of them as soon as possible. Alas, her strength was not much stronger than her opponent's, so she could only remain in a stalemate. At this moment, a setting sun descended between the two of them. Time seemed to stop in that instant. There was nothing but the setting sun. Even if this wasn't Ning City's first bridge of coping, Ning City Sunset's twilight could still stop time for a breath of time, not to mention that this was Ning City's first bridge of coping. Unfortunately, there was no time, and the Blood River had a setting sun. The setting sun set, contrasting with the tumbling river of blood. It was poignant but beautiful. The woman in the white dress was stunned for a moment before she saw the confusion in her opponent's eyes. Her opponent seemed to have been swept into a poignant sunset at this moment. No, her opponent had stopped moving at this moment. Or rather, her opponent had run out of time. Time divine art? The white-robed woman woke up and without hesitation, her sword shadow sliced through the void and severed the neck of the Dao actualization divine emperor. As soon as the primordial spirit emerged, it was swept away by the surging blood river. Ning Cheng, on seeing this white-robed woman promptly cooperate with his sunset's twilight, felt overjoyed in his heart. It saved him a lot of effort. The spear swept back and stopped this Dao actualization divine emperor. This Dao actualization divine emperor just found a way to break the bridge of helplessness and saw his friend get killed by the white-robed woman. Ning Cheng, a Dao molding divine emperor, actually split his attention and joined forces with that white-robed woman to kill a Dao actualization divine emperor. Not only was he not angry, but he was also filled with panic. Because of this panic, he desperately wanted to charge out of Ning Cheng's first bridge of helplessness. Fighting in someone else's territory, anything could happen. The white-robed woman saw the opportunity. After joining forces with Ning Cheng to kill a Dao actualization divine emperor, she immediately went to fight another Dao actualization divine emperor who had just broken free. Adding on the fact that this Dao actualization divine emperor wanted to escape, the pressure on Ning Cheng's first bridge of helplessness decreased even more. As the pressure decreased, the first bridge of helplessness power finally erupted. Together with Ning Cheng's god art, it started to suppress this Dao actualization divine emperor. The billowing netherwind aura mixed with the surging blood river surged up, making the Dao transformation cultivator fighting Ning Qing feel even more panicked. A rustling sound came, causing him to involuntarily retreat to the middle of the first bridge of helplessness. Once you enter, you will never return. No home, no reincarnation. This voice was like a shadow that he couldn't get rid of, constantly lingering in his mind. Ugh. This Dao actualization divine emperor finally couldn't help but scream. The Big Dipper god hook in his hand hooked out a space. This space not only blocked Ning Cheng's killing intent but also created a path for him to charge out of the first bridge of helplessness. Even with the help of the first bridge of helplessness, Ning Cheng's true strength was still some distance away from the middle stage Dao actualization divine emperor. A moment ago, Ning Cheng was still in control of the battle. But after this Dao actualization divine emperor used his space god art, Ning Cheng could no longer control anything here. Sensing that Ning Cheng was bound by his space, this Dao actualization divine emperor was overjoyed. He finally realized that no matter how fierce Ning Cheng looked, he was just a Dao molding divine emperor. Ning Cheng's strength wasn't as strong as he had shown. After understanding this, he didn't rush out of the first bridge of helplessness. Instead, he flew up and charged towards Ning Cheng. This part of the world had completely turned into his shadowy world, and a new world formed by the Big Dipper spirit hook wrapped around Ning Cheng. This was a new rule and a new territory. Everything here had been created by the master of the divine hook world. The pressure of death came, and Ning Cheng was shocked and furious. He didn't expect that someone would create a new world in his first bridge of helplessness and that he would be suppressed by this world. Even if his opponent was a Dao actualization divine emperor, this was still a humiliation to him. Law breaking. The long spear in Ning Cheng's hand drew out one law after another within the spirit hook world. These laws completely destroyed the original laws of space. Ning Cheng broke the space law of the space god art. The Dao actualization divine emperor's god hook world instantly shattered. Ning Cheng charged out of the broken god hook world and was hit by the broken space law. If this bridge of helplessness wasn't Ning Cheng's magic treasure, even if Ning Cheng's law-breaking god art broke the other party's world, Ning Cheng would have already died. When the blood river under the bridge sent Ning Cheng back to the first bridge of helplessness, the Dao actualization divine emperor had already turned around. Seeing Ning Cheng break his space world, he didn't dare to stay on Ning Cheng's bridge of helplessness. His figure flashed and he rushed to the edge of the first bridge of helplessness. He was about to rush out of the first bridge of helplessness. Apart from the two Dao actualization divine emperors trapped by the white-robed woman and Ho Fu, the other Dao actualization divine emperor also broke free from the first bridge of helplessness and rushed out. The white-robed woman and Ho Fu were shocked. Once these two rushed out of Ning Cheng's first bridge of helplessness, they would be doomed. You ambushed me on my first bridge of helplessness and you still want to leave. Ning Cheng's cold voice sounded. Second bridge of helplessness, condense. The two Dao actualization divine emperors just rushed out of Ning Cheng's first bridge of helplessness. Before they could even walk out, a majestic Dao rune pressed down on them. As soon as the two took out their defensive magic artifact, a yellow stone bridge appeared before them. The words second bridge of helplessness floated above the bridge. The two Dao actualization divine emperors couldn't control their footsteps at all and stepped onto the second bridge. Ning Cheng knew that he couldn't lock these two Dao actualization divine emperors with his power. This time he gave up on one of them. The Dao rune of the bridge locked onto the Dao actualization divine emperor who almost killed him with a space god art. Second bridge of helplessness? That Dao actualization divine emperor instantly woke up. He couldn't care about his friends anymore and wanted to charge across the bridge. In fact, if he could join forces with his partner to deal with Ning Cheng would have to put away the bridge and run away. In order to trap these 5 people, Ning Cheng had used up too much energy. He no longer had the power to trap the two Dao actualization divine emperors. Unfortunately, the opponents were scared. The 7 bridges mystic art was infamous. This was only the second bridge and he was almost killed. What would happen if the third and fourth bridges appeared? Facing the second village viewing bridge, At this moment, he just wanted to escape like crazy. He didn't even notice that the second village viewing bridge wasn't as stable as the first bridge of coping. Helplessly watching a person escape from the second-looking village bridge, the white-robed woman and Ho Fu could not do anything about it. Both of them were entangled by their respective opponents and could only let Ning Qing deal with the two of them. Ning Qing didn't care about this Tao actualization divine emperor. He didn't even communicate with the bridge to attack. All his attacks landed on the Tao actualization divine emperor trapped by the bridge. Don't look at each other, don't hesitate. The moment you step on this bridge, your heart is broken. Even this Tao actualization divine emperor couldn't break free from the suppression of Wang Xiang bridge. Ning Cheng's spear kept turning into spear runes and smashed over. This time, it wasn't sunset's dusk but pure spear Tao killing intent. The instant the spear touched the forehead of this Tao actualization divine emperor, this Tao actualization divine emperor actually woke up. He roared in anger and his Big Dipper God hook instantly swept up. But under the suppression of the village-looking bridge's Tao waves, his Big Dipper God hook was like a rake. Ning Qing sneered and his spear runes swept up. He was also at the end of his rope. Stop, spare me or I will self-destruct. The Tao actualization divine emperor finally understood how terrifying Ning Qing was. His killing intent was suppressed by the bridge. The reluctance to leave still hadn't disappeared. Ning Qing said calmly, "When I was at Eternal Realm, I could use 2 of the 7 bridges to trap a Tao actualization divine emperor. You don't have the right to self-destruct on my village-looking bridge." Splat. This Tao actualization divine emperor found out that he really didn't have the right to self-destruct. Under the suppression of Ning Cheng's second village-looking bridge and the spear intent, he could only watch himself get killed. Chapter 995. A puny Tao molding divine emperor, an ant that he thought he could kill with one slap, easily killed a Tao actualization divine emperor like him. Why was life so stifling? Ning Cheng's spear swept and the Tao actualization divine emperor's body turned into a power that seeped into the second bridge. The storage ring fell into Ning Cheng's hand. 2 Tao actualization divine emperors were killed by Ning Cheng directly or indirectly. The other 2 Tao actualization divine emperors fighting the white-robed woman and Ho Fu immediately shivered in fear. Before they had time to think more, the blood river beneath their feet suddenly churned, and a violent Yin wind immediately wrapped around the 2 of them. Since Ning Cheng had dealt with his opponent, he could naturally control the first bridge of coping to deal with these 2 fellows. Ning Cheng didn't even continue to attack. With the help of the first bridge, the 2 Tao actualization divine emperors were killed by the white-robed woman and Ho Fu. The white-robed woman and Ho Fu didn't even dare to take the storage ring and rushed out of the bridge. They were worried that Ning Cheng would have evil intentions and leave them in the bridge as well. If Ning Cheng truly harbored evil intentions, then he could indeed leave these 2 people behind on the bridge of coping. In fact, even if Ning Cheng wanted to keep these 2, he didn't have enough power right now. Controlling the first bridge of coping and the second bridge of village gazing consumed too much of his energy. In fact, Ning Cheng never thought about killing these 2 allies. If it weren't for these 2, it would have been very hard for him to escape from these 5 Tao actualization divine emperors. Before the white-robed woman and Ho Fu could walk out of the bridge, they found that it had disappeared. Ning Cheng was standing in front of the 2. The other 5 Tao actualization divine emperors were nowhere to be seen. The white-robed woman and Ho Fu took in a cold breath. They had definitely never seen such a powerful Tao molding divine emperor. Ning Cheng couldn't be any more heaven-defying. Once this 7 bridges spirit art was fully refined, no one in the entire Great Essence realm would be his opponent. Lu Fonglin greets Tao friend. Thank you senior apprentice brother for helping. The white-robed woman didn't dare to treat Ning Cheng as a Tao molding divine emperor anymore. She quickly greeted him with a cultivator's greeting. With just a salute, her charm was fully displayed. Ho Fu hurriedly cupped his fists and said, "Heavenly Dipper Pill Sex Ho Fu greets Tao friend. Thank you for your help." Ning Cheng quickly returned the courtesy. "I am called Ning Cheng, a rogue cultivator. Everyone was helping each other just now. If it weren't for the 2 of you, I would have been in danger myself." It's a pity that one of you got away. Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu took in a cold breath. One Dao Molding Divine Emperor killed 4 Dao Actualization Divine Emperors and 1 got away. 2 of the 4 Dao Transformation experts had been killed by them, and Lu Fanglin had even killed 2 of them by herself. However, she and Ho Fu were very clear in their hearts that they were able to kill their opponents. It was all because of Ning Cheng's help. In other words, without Ning Cheng, even if they faced any 2 Dao Actualization Divine Emperors, they would only be able to protect themselves. Facing 5 Dao Actualization Divine Emperors, he could only wait for death. As for Ning Cheng saying that he was a rogue cultivator, Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu simply would not believe it. Are loose cultivators that powerful? If rogue cultivators were so powerful, then everyone would become rogue cultivators. Ning Cheng took out 2 rings and handed them to Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu before speaking. These are the spoils of war for the 2 of you. Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu quickly refused. We wouldn't dare. If it weren't for fellow Taoist Ning's 7 bridges trapping them, we wouldn't have been able to kill them. Ning Cheng saw that the 2 of them really did not want to accept it, so he put away the ring and spoke. I still have a few questions, and would like to consult the 2 of you. What was a burial shadow demon? Why can't I get out even after escaping here? Lu Fanglin knew that Ning Cheng probably did not understand much about the burial shadow blue sand. As such, she simply explained, the most terrifying thing about the burial shadow blue sand is the burial shadow fiends, as there are countless burial shadow fiends within the burial shadow blue sand. These burial shadow fiends are hidden in the blue sand. We can't see them with our divine senses or our naked eyes. Ning Cheng suddenly remembered that he had been bitten by a giant mouth that even his spiritual consciousness could not sweep past. If not for the protection of the everlasting Blue Thunder City, perhaps he would have already died. Dao friend Lu, when I was escaping, I was bitten by something that I couldn't see, nor could my spiritual consciousness sweep past. Was it a burial shadow demon? Ning Cheng asked. After Lu Fanglin heard Ning Cheng's words, her expressions immediately changed. She nodded after a while. It was also a burial shadow demon, but the burial shadow demon we are talking about is not this kind. Rather, it is a burial shadow demon that can call out the name Ji Amr. Generally, if you become the target of this burial shadow demon, you would not be lucky enough to survive. In the burial shadow blue sand, there are countless of those invisible giant mouths that you mentioned. These are all demons that are growing up. They generally only come out once, and if they can't kill their opponent, they would immediately go into hiding. Of the people who enter the burial shadow blue sand, half of them end up devoured by the burial shadow demons, while the other half end up dying in other places. Lu Fanglin's expressions immediately changed. Ning Cheng could see it clearly, but he did not ask about it. Instead, he asked, "What does Ji Amr mean?" Ho Fu, who was listening on the side, suddenly spoke up, "Ji Amr means delicious." Ning Cheng felt dumbfounded. Delicious? Delicious enough to scare away many holy emperors? Lu Fanglin spoke up with a solemn voice. "Brother Ning, don't underestimate these 4 words. These 4 words have endless magical power. Generally, only the most powerful burial shadow demons would say these 4 words. It means that human flesh and essence spirit taste delicious. Once these 4 words appeared, the endless burial shadow fiends would gather and search this area. Even a Dao Essence Holy Emperor would find it hard to escape if they were targeted by these burial shadow demons. The reason why I told you not to leave this place was because I was sure that the blue sand outside was already filled with burial shadow demons. Perhaps no one would be able to survive. Then what is this place? It seems to be protected by an array formation." Ning Cheng pointed to the crisp green grass around him and asked. Lu Fanglin continued to explain, "This is the place where people gather divine grasses and top-grade heavenly treasures in the burial shadow blue sand. Some people say that it was arranged by a senior powerhouse. Generally, this place is called the Valley of Life. There are many such Valley of Life in the burial shadow blue sand, and in front of each Valley of Life, there is a devil-rejecting lake. No matter how powerful the burial shadow demons are, they can't pass through the devil-rejecting lake. However, Someone should have come to this valley of life a long time ago. Therefore, although there are many divine grasses here, they aren't particularly precious. If you want particularly precious divine grasses, you can only go to the valley of life that no one has ever entered before. Finding such a place can only depend on luck. Ning Cheng asked in confusion, since someone has come here before, shouldn't there be no divine grasses here? Lu Fanglin spoke up patiently, these divine grasses are all at the edge of the valley of life. It's dangerous to collect each divine grass. If you're not careful, you might get sucked into the rolling blue sand again. I also want to ask the two of you, have you heard of the hidden beautiful star gold leaf? This was Ning Cheng's main purpose for coming to the burial shadow blue sand. Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu both shook their heads, indicating that they had never heard of the hidden beautiful star gold leaf in the burial shadow blue sand. Many thanks for dispelling my doubts. Ning Cheng cupped his fists and thanked her. This woman was too tempting. Looking at him, it felt as if his entire body was trembling along with the curve of her body. Moreover, it was unconscious. Such a tempting woman, Ning Cheng really didn't want to stay with her. Looking at Ho Fu's appearance, Ning Cheng guessed that he also loved Lu Fanglin to the bone. After saying goodbye to Ning Cheng, Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu walked a few dozen meters inside before suddenly stopping again. Lu Fanglin looked back at Ning Cheng and said, Brother Ning, the buried shadow demons have a terrifying nature. That is, once you get bitten by a buried shadow demon. As long as you appear in the burial shadow blue sand a day later, it will attract countless buried shadow demons. Moreover, you can't stay in the valley of life for more than half a month. If you stay for more than half a month, you will be directly sent out of the valley of life. Ning Cheng finally understood why Lu Fanglin's expression changed when he said that he was bitten by a buried shadow demon. It turned out to be because of this reason. Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu's figures quickly disappeared. Ning Cheng stopped and carefully checked his body with his spiritual consciousness several times. He didn't find anything wrong with his body, but he suddenly started to doubt Lu Fanglin's words. Maybe that buried shadow demon had just bitten his everlasting blue thunder fort, and it didn't have much of an impact on him. Despite these thoughts, Ning Cheng's heart still filled with vigilance. He had to be a lot more careful when advancing through the valley of life. This valley of life made Ning Cheng think about a lot. It wasn't that he was suspicious, but rather that he suspected the motives of the senior who arranged this valley of life. If it really was to save people from the burial shadow blue sand, why did he limit it to 15 days? But then again, if not to save people, why did the senior arrange the valley of life in the burial shadow blue sand? Moreover, why did he plant so many precious divine grasses on the edge of the valley of life? On the second day after entering the valley of life, Ning Cheng encountered a devil cloth grass. Just as Lu Fanglin said, this devil cloth grass grew on the edge of the valley of life. It looked like the blue sand was rolling around. If he rashly picked it, he might really end up getting sucked into the burial shadow blue sand again. Ning Cheng didn't pick this devil cloth grass. Devil cloth grass was also a relatively precious divine grass. Ning Cheng had a lot of these things in his medicine garden, so he didn't put them in his eyes at all. Walking along the valley of life, Ning Cheng saw more and more divine grasses. He even saw the scarce blood moon immortal lotus. However, Ning Cheng didn't touch these divine grasses. In any case, he couldn't turn a deaf ear to Lu Fanglin's words. On the seventh day, Ning Cheng finally saw a scarlet cloud wave root, a divine grass useful to him. The scarlet cloud wave root was an auxiliary divine grass for refining the true extreme spiritual restoration pill. Although Ning Cheng already had more than a dozen of them, he didn't mind having more of them. Ning Cheng brought out the everlasting blue thunder fort and carefully walked to the edge of the valley of life. His hand hadn't even touched the scarlet cloud wave root when several auras rushed over. Ning Cheng no longer cared about picking up the scarlet cloud wave root. Activating the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, he quickly left the place. Even so, his everlasting blue thunder city once again ended up being bitten by the invisible giant mouth, causing it to erupt with a burst of thunder light. Ning Cheng looked back and saw a blue vortex swirling around the edge of the scarlet cloud wave route. Ning Cheng couldn't help but think that if he had been a little bit slower, this vortex would have swept him away. Ning Cheng didn't want this scarlet cloud wave route anymore. He had just carefully retreated when he heard a shrill scream. Ning Cheng and Lu Fanglin had talked for a long time, so he immediately recognized this voice. It was the charming widow Lu Fanglin who had left with Ho Fu before. Chapter 996. Ning Cheng's spiritual sense immediately scanned over, and a weak shielding restriction appeared in front of Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng's spiritual sense didn't hesitate and directly tore the restriction apart. This was the burial shadow blue sand, not anyone's private place. Ning Cheng didn't feel embarrassed breaking the restriction. After the restriction was broken, Ning Cheng saw more than a dozen figures, ranging from Dao sculpting to Dao transformation. Lu Fanglin had an ice thorn nailed to her chest. She sat paralyzed on the ground with an extremely painful expression on her face. Ning Cheng's spiritual sense scanned the ice thorn and immediately understood why Lu Fanglin was in so much pain. Because the ice thorn had the effect of tearing one's soul apart, it was called soul ice thorn. No one would be able to bear the pain if they were hit by this kind of soul ice thorn. Not far from Lu Fanglin, Ho Fu's battle dragon pill cauldron floated above his head. However, he looked just as dispirited as before. Apparently, he was also seriously injured. Ning Cheng soon saw another acquaintance. It was the Dao transformation Holy Emperor who escaped from his 7 bridges. These people were surrounding a restriction, and the restriction had not been broken yet. When Ning Cheng's spiritual sense entered the restriction and found something inside, his eyes lit up. It turned out to be a pill heart immortal Ganoderma fruit tree. The pill heart immortal Ganoderma fruit was an extremely rare Dao transformation Dao fruit. It didn't need to be refined into a medicinal pill and could be consumed directly. The pill heart immortal Ganoderma fruit was an extremely rare Dao transformation Dao fruit. It didn't need to be refined into a medicinal pill and could be consumed directly. It was a top-grade healing sacred fruit. If a holy emperor under the Dao transformation realm took it after being seriously injured, it would be more powerful than a Dao transformation Dao pill. More importantly, there was a longan-sized medicinal pill in the center of the pill heart immortal Ganoderma fruit. This medicinal pill wasn't refined, but a heaven-grade medicinal pill. In addition to being a sacred healing pill, this medicinal pill also contained alchemy Dao runes, which could help alchemists perceive the alchemy Dao and comprehend the alchemy Dao runes. When Ning Cheng saw this Dao fruit tree, his twin wings of the heavenly clouds flashed, and he instantly rushed over. When he arrived outside the restriction, he directly lifted his hand and broke it. The people who were discussing how to divide the Dao fruits immediately looked at Ning Cheng when Ning Cheng tore open the restriction. When these people saw that Ning Cheng was just a Dao molding holy emperor, they immediately became angry. A mere Dao molding divine emperor dared to tear someone else's restriction. This was suicide. That Dao actualization divine emperor saw Ning Cheng come over and his face changed. He looked down and subconsciously took 2 steps back. When the seriously injured Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu saw Ning Cheng coming over, their faces immediately lit up. Although Ning Cheng's cultivation level was low and he had directly torn apart the restrictions set up by a Dao transformation powerhouse, no one stood up to speak. Which one of the people who came here was not an old fox? Even if the sky collapsed, there would be someone taller to hold it up. Whoever had laid down the restrictions here would naturally be the one to take the lead. If they could get an extra piece of fruit by stepping up, they would have done so a long time ago. Since there were no benefits, no one wanted to get involved. A Dao actualization divine emperor stepped forward and said coldly, "Dao friend, you're too cocky. You just tore open my restriction. Are you relying on your power?" However, he did not immediately attack Ning Cheng. He knew that anyone who could enter the burial shadow blue sand field would not be without a few moves. Ning Cheng's cultivation might not be good, but since he dared to do such a thing, it showed that Ning Cheng might have a very powerful background. Perhaps he came from a big sect or a big family. If there was no one here, he could just kill Ning Cheng and no one would know. But there were many people here. Ning Cheng scanned this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. Tao Actualization Divine Emperor primary stage, weaker than the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor he just killed. No, but 2 of my friends were injured. I want to ask them about it. Ning Cheng pointed at the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor who escaped the 7 Bridges God Art. Tell me, who injured my friends? Ning Cheng didn't have to get revenge for Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu. He came here later. Since he wanted to split the Tao fruit, he naturally had to find an excuse. The Divine Emperors were dazed. Ning Cheng was just a Tao molding Divine Emperor. Other than the heavily injured Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu, there were 6 Tao Actualization Divine Emperors and 5 Tao Nourishment Divine Emperors. There were even 4 Tao molding Divine Emperors like Ning Cheng. What was this person's background? He dared to point at a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor and say, "You tell me, who injured my friends?" How cocky did he have to be to say something like this? Even the Tao Actualization Divine Emperor who said Ning Cheng was cocky didn't speak for a while. He wanted to see how this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor would deal with this. If this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor could kill Ning Cheng, that would be for the best. This Tao Actualization Divine Emperor was too scared of Ning Cheng. As a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, he couldn't show too much weakness. He could only snort coldly. How would this emperor know? It definitely wasn't done by this emperor. Everyone looked at this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor in confusion. Although his words were harsh, everyone could see that he was just putting up a strong front. At this moment, no one treated Ning Cheng as a Tao molding Divine Emperor anymore. If Ning Cheng was really an ordinary Tao molding Divine Emperor, this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor would have killed Ning Cheng just based on what he said and not that he didn't do it. Ning Cheng felt pity. He obviously didn't want to ask who injured Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu. If he really wanted to ask about this, he could just ask Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu. He wanted to find an excuse to kill this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. His 7 Bridges God Art's first bridge had just formed. Although it was powerful, his cultivation level was too weak. This Tao Actualization Divine Emperor escaped from his 7 bridges. He didn't want the 7 bridges to be exposed, so he wanted to kill him. This Tao Actualization Divine Emperor seemed to know what Ning Cheng was thinking and answered Ning Cheng's question. Ning Cheng couldn't find an excuse. Ning Cheng didn't keep finding excuses. After all, Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu knew about the 7 bridges. These 2 people could only be said to have met by chance, and they would definitely not help him keep his secret. Even if he wanted to keep the 7 bridges secret, he couldn't convince himself to kill Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu. So what if it was exposed? He was a Tao molding Divine Emperor. Why would he be afraid of his God Art being exposed? Thinking about this, Ning Cheng wanted to remove the soul ice thorns on Lu Fanglin's chest. A cold voice said, "They were injured by this emperor. What can you do?" "I can't do anything." Ning Cheng flicked out a pill. "Take the pill and kill this guy with me." Ning Cheng's pill was for Ho Fu. With the help of his Tao pill, Ho Fu would recover very quickly. Ho Fu heard Ning Cheng's words and swallowed the pill without hesitation. He didn't think Ning Cheng would harm him. If Ning Cheng really wanted to kill him, he would have killed him in the 7 bridges. He wouldn't wait until now. The Tao Actualization Divine Emperor sneered. Ho Fu's injuries would take at least a few days to recover even if he took a top-grade healing god pill. He did not wait for Ning Cheng to speak again. His entire person flew up, and a huge heaven-piercing scissors appeared in his hand, ignoring the space between him and Ning Cheng. A majestic killing intent swept out from it. The surrounding Divine Emperors quickly put up restrictions to defend against this raging wave of killing intent. Ning Cheng opened his hand and a spear appeared in his hand. He didn't use the 7 Bridges spirit art. Although he had several ways to kill this Tao Actualization Divine Emperor, these methods consumed too much energy. Once he used them, he would put himself in danger. He was still some distance away from a Tao Actualization Divine Emperor. Whether it was the 7 Bridges or the 5-colored star splitter arrow, they were powerful killer moves. That's why Ning Cheng wanted Ho Fu's help. This was a Tao Actualization Tao pill? The moment the pill entered his mouth, Ho Fu almost cried out in shock. He was a pill refiner himself. He naturally knew about Tao actualization Tao pills. Such a precious Tao of healing pills, yet Ning Cheng casually took it out for him to consume. Just what was the origin of this Ning Cheng? The healing Tao pill contained traces of La aura, and Ho Fu's injuries instantly began to heal. At this moment, Ning Cheng's spear swept up spear runes and wrapped around this Tao actualization Divine Emperor's heaven-piercing scissors killing intent. However, Ning Cheng's spear runes kept weakening while the heaven-piercing scissors killing intent grew stronger. The people around could see that Ning Cheng was at an absolute disadvantage. When the heaven-piercing scissors killing intent completely destroyed Ning Cheng's spear runes, Ning Cheng could only wait for death. What's more, everyone knew that Wei Jingbing's means weren't limited to the heaven-piercing scissors. This heaven-piercing scissors was just a test. Just a test, and this arrogant Tao-molding Divine Emperor wouldn't be able to block it, let alone Wei Jingbing's full power. Some Divine Emperors were speechless. They thought this Tao-molding Divine Emperor was very strong, but it turned out he was only this strong. As a Tao-molding Divine Emperor, Ning Cheng was indeed very strong to be able to block a Tao actualization Divine Emperor's attack. He was even stronger than ordinary Tao-molding Divine Emperors. With just this, he didn't have the right to be arrogant here. Only the Tao actualization Divine Emperor who escaped from Ning Cheng's 7 bridges sneered. He knew that Ning Cheng didn't even use his full power. He was already prepared. If Ning Cheng dared to use 7 bridges again, he would be the first to run. He couldn't let Ning Cheng get swept into 7 bridges again. No wonder you dare to be so arrogant here. You're indeed a bit stronger than ordinary Tao-molding Divine Emperor. If that's all you have, then go reincarnate. The Tao actualization Divine Emperor immediately knew Ning Cheng's power. He was definitely no match for him. The imposing manner of his through heaven scissors unreservedly stretched out, causing the majestic imposing manner to suppress Ning Cheng's spear trace. Immediately, a huge ice thorn suddenly appeared. He wanted to use the same method he used to deal with Lu Fanglin to pin down Ning Cheng's soul ice thorn. At this moment, Ho Fu's battle dragon pill cauldron smashed over. No matter how strong Wei Jingbing was, he didn't dare to ignore another Tao actualization Divine Emperor's attack. Although he wasn't the one who injured Ho Fu, he had seen the process of Ho Fu's injury with his own eyes. When Ho Fu attacked him, he was shocked that Ho Fu's injury had healed so quickly. Chapter 997. Wei Jingbing put away his weapon and withdrew from the battle circle. Ho Fu wasn't any weaker than him, and he also had Ning Cheng's help. There were many people here, but no one came forward to help him. He naturally didn't want to waste his strength. Wei Jingbing retreated, and Ho Fu didn't chase after him. Ning Cheng also stopped. He didn't come here to kill people but for the loyalty heart spirit Ganoderma fruit and to save Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu. After the opponent retreated, Ning Cheng grabbed the ice thorn in Lu Fanglin's chest and pulled it out. "Don't touch her." Ho Fu saw Ning Cheng not knowing the severity of the situation and dared to grab the soul ice thorn and pull it out. The soul ice thorn tore through one spirit soul. If it was forcibly pulled out, it could easily destroy the soul. Even Lu Fanglin was shocked. She didn't want to die now, but she couldn't stop Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng was an pill saint and even had the qualification card of a primordial Tao pill saint. How could he not know the power of the soul ice thorn? Not only was his spiritual consciousness powerful, but he also possessed the dark nether spirit devouring spirit technique. The moment he grabbed the soul piercer, his spiritual sense had already wrapped around the soul piercer, directly separating Lu Fanglin's life essence that was wrapped around the soul piercer. The moment the soul ice thorn left her body, Ning Cheng threw a medicinal pill into Lu Fanglin's mouth. When Ning Cheng pulled out the ice thorn from Lu Fanglin's body, everyone present shook their heads speechlessly. Lu Fanglin was dead. Even Wei Jingbing, who injured Lu Fanglin, was shocked. He didn't control Lu Fanglin to kill her, but to take her away. He had been coveting this woman for a long time. But to everyone's disbelief, Lu Fanglin was safe and sound. Ning Cheng's flame had already engulfed the soul ice thorn and turned it into nothingness. Lu Fanglin also understood that Ning Cheng had really saved her. Ning Cheng not only helped her remove the soul ice thorn, but also gave her a top-grade healing pill. Thank you, Brother Ning. You saved me again. Lu Fonglin quickly thanked Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng nodded. Get ready. There might be a fierce battle later. I'm afraid I can't do it alone. I need you and Brother Ho's help. Ning Cheng felt sure that the early-stage Dao transformation cultivator with the heaven-piercing scissors couldn't control Lu Fonglin. Someone must have helped her. Regardless of the reason why these people stopped Lu Fonglin and Ho Fu, they would definitely fight for the Red Heart Divine Ganoderma fruit later. He couldn't beat so many of them by himself. Since he needed allies, Lu Fonglin and Ho Fu were the most suitable. I am Wei Jingbing from the Zhanbin Cliffs Wei clan. Who the hell are you? Seeing Ning Cheng easily pull out his soul ice thorns, Wei Jingbing could not help but speak up. Even a Dao Essence Divine Emperor would have to carefully pull out his soul ice thorns. Ning Cheng had pulled it out so casually. It most likely had something to do with the Wei clan. Zhanbin Cliffs Wei clan? Ning Cheng suddenly remembered a familiar name, Wei He. Wei He was the fiancé of Qi Shixingsing's elder sister, Qi Yuling. He was a person with a good demeanor, and Ning Cheng also had a good impression of him. After not hearing any news about Qi Shixingsing, Ning Cheng had always wanted to go to the profound Moon Spirit Gate. However, he knew that his strength was still too weak. If something really happened to Qi Shixingsing, then going to the profound Moon Spirit Gate wouldn't be helping him. Instead, it would be suicide. A bunch of scum. Lu Fonglin, who stood next to Ning Cheng, suddenly scolded. A slut who doesn't follow the ways of a woman. After Wei Jingbing heard Lu Fonglin's words, he suddenly became furious and was about to attack again. But a deep voice stopped Wei Jingbing. Ning Cheng felt a slight chill in his body. Only then did he realize that he hadn't paid attention to this person since he came here. This person wore a gray robe and looked very ordinary. You wouldn't be able to find him in a crowd. But as soon as he stood up, the space around him seemed to fall under his control. Everyone's subtle movements couldn't escape his eyes. Dao Transformation Realm? Ning Cheng's eyes shrank slightly. When he first arrived here, he only regarded the other party as an ordinary Dao Transformation Realm cultivator. But now it seems that he was wrong. If he wanted to kill this person alone, he would have to use the 5-colored star splitter arrow. Moreover, before using the 5-colored star splitter arrow, he would have to find an opportunity to shoot it. Otherwise, the other party might have already killed him before he could shoot the 5-colored star splitter arrow. He hadn't fully mastered the 7 bridges yet. At least, he couldn't kill this person for now. Brother Ning, he was the one who injured me and controlled senior apprentice Sister Fonglin. That's why Wei Jingbing's soul ice thorns hit her. Ho Fu feared that Ning Cheng didn't know about his opponent's power and promptly sent a voice transmission to Ning Cheng. You can kill 4 Dao Transformation Holy Emperors, which means you're extraordinary. You also have the qualifications to break LV Li's restrictions and get a piece of the pie. Everyone came to the burial Shadow Blue Sand to seek treasures. Since we're all gathered here, then everyone should have a share. The gray-clothed man spoke in a deep voice that was neither fast nor slow. After he finished speaking, he continued, "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is easy to remember, I'm Ding Si. I'm also as simple as my name. I like to make friends. The reason why I attacked your friend just now was because she wanted to kill Wei Jingbing. I had no choice but to let Wei Jingbing injure her. I apologize here." Ding Si was indeed easy to remember. However, Ning Cheng didn't think that this person was as simple as his name. This person was far stronger than him. The Dao Transformation Holy Emperor he wanted to kill just now definitely told Ding Si about his 7 Bridges spirit art. There were only 2 possibilities for Ding Si to be so amiable. One was that he was really like what he said, a very simple person who only cared about wealth. Ning Cheng thought that this possibility could only fool the little guy because the possibility of Ding Si being such a person was very small. The other possibility was that Ding Si knew that he had the 7 Bridges spirit art or even the 7 Bridges realm book. Therefore, he didn't want to kill him here. He wanted to wait until things were done here and then kill him alone. This was the majority possibility. Otherwise, Ding Si wouldn't have said that he killed 4 Dao Transformation Holy Emperors. Ding Si said this so that others wouldn't dare to attack him. Unfortunately, you know that I have the 7 bridges spirit art, but you don't know that I have the 5-colored star splitter arrow. If you want to kill me, you'd have to have a pair of good teeth. Ding Si's expression was extremely calm. Ning Cheng's expression was also extremely calm. He cupped his fists and said, "Ning Cheng greets Dao friend Ding." Everyone who heard this opened their mouths wide. Ning Cheng killed 4 Dao transformation holy emperors by himself? But Ning Cheng's strength just now wasn't enough to kill 4 Dao transformation holy emperors. Then again, who knew if Ning Cheng had used any strength just now? After all, he didn't really fight with Wei Jingbing. Perhaps he didn't even use 1/10 of his strength. Some people who didn't take the initiative to speak up were already rejoicing in their hearts. Regardless of whether Ning Cheng had real strength or not, he wasn't a simple person. Otherwise, Ding Si wouldn't say that. Wei Jingbing looked at Ning Cheng in disbelief. He even thought that if Ho Fu hadn't acted, he would have already killed Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng was just a Dao molding holy emperor? How could he have the ability to kill 4 Dao transformation holy emperors? Dao friend Ning, there's a pill heart immortal Ganoderma fruit here. There are a total of 58 pill heart immortal Ganoderma fruits on the tree. We have a total of 18 people here. This is what I think. 1 Dao molding holy emperor, 2 Dao nourishment holy emperors, and 4 Dao transformation holy emperors. We'll split the rest evenly. How about it? Ding Si said and looked at Ning Cheng with a smile. No one objected to Ding Si's distribution plan. Clearly, everyone here knew how powerful Ding Si was, so they agreed with his distribution plan. If Ding Si hadn't said that Ning Cheng had killed 4 Dao transformation holy emperors, perhaps someone else would have stood up. But after Ding Si said this, no one dared to stand up and refute. According to Ding Si's plan, there were 16 pill heart immortal Ganoderma fruits left, and Ning Cheng could get 8. It could be said that Ding Si had absolute respect for Ning Cheng and even put Ning Cheng in the same position as him. Ning Cheng could also see that Ding Si was in charge here. If Ding Si hadn't known about the 7 Bridges Realm book, Ning Cheng really wouldn't have understood why Ding Si indulged him like this. Now that he had guessed Ding Si's purpose, he cupped his fists and said, "Many thanks for Dao friend Ding's generosity. I only want 4 pill heart immortal Ganoderma fruits. But I want this pill heart immortal Ganoderma fruit tree. What does Dao friend Ding think?" Dao fruit trees were extremely difficult to grow, and many sects needed them. In everyone's opinion, Ning Cheng wanted this Dao fruit tree to make a fortune. Ding Si didn't say anything about the distribution of the fruit tree before, so he naturally wanted the Dao fruit tree. Now that Ning Cheng asked for the Dao fruit tree, everyone looked at Ding Si and wanted to see how Ding Si would deal with this matter. In fact, Ning Cheng didn't necessarily want the Dao fruit tree. Ning Cheng guessed that Ding Si would most likely attack him alone. If Ding Si turned against him now, he could use Lu Fanglin and Ho Fu to kill Ding Si and Wei Jingbing. Even if the Dao transformation holy emperor who set up the restriction attacked him together, he could use the 7 Bridges spirit art to kill them. Ding Si didn't expect that he would give Ning Cheng such a high treatment, but Ning Cheng still wanted the Dao fruit tree. He only paused for a moment before smiling. "Okay, the Dao fruit tree doesn't have much use for me. I'll give it to Dao friend Ning." Although they couldn't figure out why Ding Si would compromise, everyone still worked together to blast open the restriction. They quickly distributed the Dao fruits and dispersed. No one wanted to find trouble with Ning Cheng. Even Ding Si himself, after distributing the Dao fruits, quickly left. Ning Cheng put away the Dao fruit tree, which only had 4 pill heart immortal Ganoderma fruits. "Brother Ning, that Ding Si is very strong. We saw him kill a Dao transformation holy emperor in an instant. You have to be careful." Ho Fu was very grateful to Ning Cheng for saving him twice, and spoke a few more words. He also guessed that Ding Si knew that Ning Cheng had the 7 Bridges spirit art and wanted to kill Ning Cheng secretly. Who wouldn't want the 7 Bridges spirit art? It was a peerless spirit art that the entire Grand Essence realm coveted. "Many thanks." Ning Cheng cupped his fists. He wasn't afraid of Ding Si. He had the spirit explosion pill. Even if he couldn't kill Ding Si wouldn't be able to kill him easily. Seeing that Ning Cheng understood what he meant, Ho Fu said to Lu Fanglin, "Senior apprentice Sister Fanglin, Let's go. Lu Fonglin shook her head. Junior apprentice Brother Ho, you go first. I want to go with Brother Ning. Chapter 998. When Ho Fu heard this, his face immediately turned stiff. He also loved Lu Fonglin to the bone. Although he came to the buried shadow blue sand for other things, it was also for Lu Fonglin. He quickly reacted with his strength. He obviously could not protect senior apprentice Sister Fonglin. Senior apprentice Sister Fonglin chose to be with Ning Cheng. It would be much safer than being with him. Thinking of this, Ho Fu showed a slightly embarrassed smile and spoke, "Well, I will be leaving first. Senior apprentice Sister Fonglin, take care. If there is anything, you can always send me a message. Dao friend Ning, goodbye." Saying that, Ho Fu's figure spread out and soon disappeared. Ning Cheng looked at Lu Fonglin in doubt and spoke, "Dao friend Lu, you know that I can't walk together with you. I still have a lot of things to do. Besides, I was attacked by the buried shadow fiends, so I estimate that once I enter the buried shadow blue sand, I would immediately be besieged by the buried shadow fiends." Lu Fonglin did not directly answer his words, but once again bowed to Ning Cheng and spoke, "I have an innate charm body. I did not intentionally make that kind of charm appearance. I ask Brother Ning to forgive me." Ning Cheng suddenly understood that Lu Fonglin should have unintentionally revealed that kind of charm appearance. Before, he thought that Lu Fonglin cultivated a kind of charm technique. He did not expect that she actually had an innate charm body. This kind of woman with an innate charm body was very rare, but if such a person cultivated a charm cultivation method, then their achievements would be extraordinary. There were many kinds of innate charm bodies. He did not know which one Lu Fonglin belonged to. Seeing Ning Cheng suddenly understand, Lu Fonglin continued, "Brother Ning, there are 2 reasons for me to stay. One is that Ding Si will definitely not let you go, so I want to lend you a hand." Ning Cheng showed a faint smile, "Many thanks, but I do not need your help. I believe that I can deal with that Ding Si by myself." Lu Fonglin did not care about it and continued, "Although I do not know where to find the dim star golden hidden leaf, I know that if the dim star golden hidden leaf is in the buried shadow blue sand, then it must be in that place. I am going to that place, so I hope that I can accompany Brother Ning." "What place?" Ning Cheng's face immediately showed a pleasant surprise. He had entered the buried shadow blue sand to find the dim star golden hidden leaf, but until now, he had not even seen the shadow of the dim star golden hidden leaf. Now that Lu Fonglin said that she knew a place that might have the dim star hidden gold leaf, how could Ning Cheng not feel pleasantly surprised? Lu Fonglin shook her head. "I also don't know where this place is. I only have a general direction. However, I believe that as long as I survive in the buried shadow blue sand, I will be able to find it." "What do you need that you actually want to find it in the burial shadow blue sand?" Ning Cheng asked in confusion. Lu Fonglin looked into the distance of the Valley of Life. After a long silence, she said, "It's the patterned bone flower." "Patterned bone flower?" Ning Cheng asked in surprise. He was an alchemy saint. How could the patterned bone flower not know? The tattoo bone poison was one of the top 10 poisons under the heavens. How could it be considered one of the top 10 poisons under the heavens in a high-level world like the Grand Essence Realm? The Void Star sect had asked him to refine the sky-replenishing bone vein pill to cure the bone vein poison. If the patterned bone poison was simple, it would not have made the sect master of the Primordial Chaos sect helpless. Ning Cheng did not think that Lu Fonglin was looking for the patterned bone flower. Apparently, she had only one purpose for looking for the patterned bone flower, and that was to obtain the patterned bone poison. Ning Cheng didn't know who this woman wanted to poison to kill. No matter who she wanted to poison, once poisoned by the patterned bone poison, it would be a disaster. Not only was the patterned bone poison difficult to cure, but it was also extremely easy to spread. "Actually, I have another identity. I'm a Tao-raising pill deity from the Heavenly Dipper Alchemy Gate." Lu Fonglin found that Ning Cheng's expression remained calm after she finished speaking. She didn't even feel surprised when she heard about the patterned bone flower. One had to know that a Tao-raising pill deity was already an amazing existence in the Grand Essence Realm. It was an existence that ordinary people would fight to make friends with. Ning Qing nodded. So you and Brother Ho really are from the same sect. No wonder Ho Fu looked at Lu Fanglin with such adoration. This Ho Fu should have already been attracted to Lu Fanglin in the Heavenly Dipper Alchemy Gate. Lu Fanglin shook her head and replied after a while, Junior Apprentice Brother Ho is a good person. Although he only loves my body, he is also sincere towards me. Ning Qing looked at Lu Fanglin in surprise. Lu Fanglin's words sounded like ordinary words. Wasn't she trying to be subtle? Besides, he and Lu Fanglin weren't that familiar, right? Lu Fanglin didn't care about what Ning Qing thought and continued, My husband's name is Tu Qinfei. He's also a disciple of the Heavenly Dipper Alchemy Gate. He and I fell in love and came together in the Heavenly Dipper Alchemy Gate. There weren't many people who really wished us well, and many people coveted my body. They were friendly to us on the surface, but they secretly thought of dirty things. Ning Qing frowned slightly. This Lu Fanglin seemed a bit extreme. Once one cultivated to the Holy Emperor realm, one's temperament naturally wouldn't be the same as an ordinary person's. Although Lu Fanglin was tempting, it only resonated with the senses for a while. Finally, one day, a man named Wei he took a fancy to me. Then, my husband died inexplicably, and I married Wei he of the Wei clan on behalf of the Heavenly Dipper Alchemy Gate. Hearing this, Ning Qing finally felt that something was wrong. Wei he's Dao companion should be Qi Shizingxing's elder sister, Qi Yuling. Why did he marry Lu Fanglin? What about Qi Yuling? What did the Heavenly Dipper Alchemy Gate get from the Wei clan? I don't know, but I do know that the Heavenly Dipper Alchemy Gate bought me for a good price. The Wei clan is a bunch of bastards. That Wei Jingbing, Wei he's uncle, also wanted my body, but failed. Ning Qing finally understood why Lu Fanglin wanted to kill the other party. It turned out to be because of this. Have you been to the Battle Shore Cliffs Wei clan? Ning Qing asked. Lu Fanglin's face showed a trace of killing intent. Yes, after my husband died, I was controlled by the Heavenly Dipper Alchemy Gate to marry into the Battle Shore Cliffs Wei clan. The Wei clan, from the old to the young, all wore decent clothes on the surface, but secretly wanted my body. If it weren't for me being a pill deity and having some experience in the Tao of detoxification, I would have been repeatedly defiled by those bastards from the Wei clan. I pretended to be poisoned and escaped from the Wei clan after killing Wei Quan of the Wei clan. I came to the burial Shadow Blue Sand to find the vein bone poison and avenge my husband. Wei Jingbing also guessed that I had escaped. In addition, he had also secretly made a move against me. As soon as I saw him, I was ready to kill him. I did not expect that there would be a Ding Si. Ding Si's origin is mysterious, but his strength is tyrannical. In front of him, I simply do not have the leeway to fight back. Ning Qing felt a burst of killing intent, and secretly thought to himself that Lu Fanglin's hatred was quite strong. However, he also understood why the Wei clan had such thoughts about Lu Fanglin. In addition to the temptation of Lu Fanglin's charming body, it was also related to the cultivation method cultivated by the Wei clan. He had fought against Wei Jingbing before and knew that Wei Jingbing's spirit essence lacked a kind of gentleness, which meant that his cultivation method was too young. Cultivating this kind of cultivation method, once one's Tao heart lost its balance, it would be unable to reconcile, and one would end up dying from a raging fire. A woman with a natural charming body was very beneficial to those who cultivated this kind of cultivation method. Whether it was dual cultivation or something else, it was more perfect than some medicinal pills. Unfortunately, no matter what kind of natural charming body it was, there were very few of them. He guessed that the Wei clan wanted Lu Fanglin because of this. Otherwise, even if the people from the Wei clan were shameless, they would not be unable to resist the temptation of a woman with a natural charming body, not to mention that this woman had not taken the initiative to seduce them. Ning Qing no longer cared about this matter, but asked, Do you know a woman called Qi Yuling? Qi Yuling? I've never heard of her. Lu Fanglin shook her head. Ning Qing guessed that if Qi Yuling did not go to the Wei clan, then it must have something to do with the profound moon spirit gate. Thinking of this, Ning Qing simply spoke up, Dao friend Lu, you know that I offended Ding Si, and you also know how powerful Ding Si is. Moreover, you also know that once I leave the Valley of Life, I would be besieged by the buried shadow fiends. If you stay with me, I estimate that your chances of survival would be very slim. My idea is that you tell me the location of the valley, and then we can look for it alone. What do you think? Lu Fanglin took in a deep breath and spoke in a deep voice. Senior apprentice Brother Ning, you are the only one who did not have any thoughts about me. I really want revenge, but I also know that if I don't even repay the kindness, then what kind of revenge is there? Senior apprentice Brother Ning, although your 7 bridges is powerful, your cultivation is still too weak. If I help, maybe you can kill Ding Si. Without my help, I'm afraid. Ning Cheng's face turned slightly red when he heard Lu Fanglin's words. He truly didn't have any thoughts about Lu Fanglin. The first time he saw Lu Fanglin, he still had a natural physiological reaction. But when he heard Lu Fanglin's words, he understood that Lu Fanglin really wanted to help him. After all, he also guessed that 7 bridges couldn't handle a true Dao transformation powerhouse like Ding Si. Moreover, Lu Fanglin also didn't know that he had the 5-colored star splitter arrow in addition to 7 bridges. In that case, let's go together. You lead the way. Ning Qing didn't dwell on this matter. Since people already knew about the 7 bridges spirit technique, then it wouldn't matter if people knew about the 5-colored star splitter arrow. What's more, Lu Fanglin might know about the hidden star golden leaf. Manjurin already knew that he had the 5-colored star splitter arrow. Even if he killed Manjurin, who could guarantee that he wouldn't speak about it? Instead of worrying about others knowing about his treasure, it was better to improve his strength. Hearing Ning Cheng's agreement, Lu Fanglin showed a slight smile and brought out a 5-colored pearl to suspend over her head. The Valley of Life is here. If we go any further, we will leave the Valley of Life. Whether it's the threat of the buried shadow fiends or Ding Si, I suggest you bring out your Thunder City's defensive weapon. She had seen Ning Cheng's defensive weapon, the everlasting blue Thunder City. Even without an artifact spirit, it was still a top-grade defensive weapon. At least, she hadn't seen a more powerful defensive weapon than Ning Cheng's everlasting blue Thunder City. No, you lead the way. Ning Cheng shook his head. He didn't intend to bring out the everlasting blue Thunder City at all. The everlasting blue Thunder City only had a defensive function. Since the buried shadow fiends couldn't let him go, why should he passively defend? After listening to Lu Fanglin's description of the buried shadow fiends, Ning Cheng guessed that these buried shadow fiends were something similar to souls. Moreover, they were very different from souls and essence spirits. At least with the help of the buried shadow blue sand, spiritual consciousness and vision couldn't catch them. Against such things, there was no weapon better than his 7 bridges spirit technique. Therefore, instead of bringing out the everlasting blue Thunder City, he directly grabbed the 7 bridges realm book in his hand. If the 7 bridges realm book couldn't kill these buried shadow fiends, he would choose to use the everlasting blue Thunder City for defense. Chapter 999. Lu Fanglin was right. The two of them had only walked for half an incense stick's worth of time when the verdant green of the Valley of Life suddenly disappeared. What they saw instead was still a sky full of blue sand. When Ning Cheng looked back, it was as if the Valley of Life had never appeared. If not for the Scarlet Heart spiritual Ganoderma fruit he had obtained from the Valley of Life in his quintessential world, he would have thought that what he had just seen was an illusion. The berserk blue burial shadow sand swept over, suppressing his divine sense once more. Lu Fanglin used an unknown method to control her divine sense, making the multicolored pearl above her head sprinkle out a multicolored shield, enveloping her whole body. Ning Cheng was an artifact crafting grandmaster and could refine middle-grade spirit artifacts. Therefore, when he saw Lu Fanglin's bead, he understood that he couldn't refine it. You have to be careful of the burial shadow fiends. Lu Fanglin, who was not far from Ning Cheng, once again sent out a warning. Ning Cheng nodded but did not speak. In fact, when he was surrounded by the blue sandbags, he focused all his attention on defense. His cultivation was not as high as Lu Fanglin's, But his use of spiritual consciousness was definitely not something that Lu Fanglin could compare to. Even his spiritual consciousness was much higher than Lu Fanglin's. At this time, not only did he have to guard against the burial shadow fiends, he also had to guard against Ding Si. Ning Cheng did not believe that Ding Si would be so kind-hearted and easy to talk to. What puzzled Ning Cheng was that he had already prepared the Seven Bridges Realm book. But when he came out, apart from the burial shadow blue sand that covered the sky, he didn't sense any demonic aura. Lead the way. Seeing Lu Fanglin not moving, seemingly ready to support him at any time, Ning Cheng helplessly called out to him. All right. Lu Fanglin could see that Ning Cheng was indeed fine. Although she did not understand why Ning Cheng did not bring out the Blue Thunder City, she could only lead the way in front. In the beginning, Lu Fanglin's speed was still very slow, ready to attack at any moment. Half a day passed, and the two of them did not encounter any danger. Lu Fanglin began to doubt whether the rumor was true, so she began to speed up. An hour later, she felt that something was wrong. Ning Cheng, who had always been with her, had disappeared. Although she and Ning Cheng had not known each other for a long time, but she did not think that Ning Cheng was the kind of person who would sneak away. Even if he wanted to leave, he would inform her. Ning Cheng was swallowed by the burial shadow demon? As soon as this thought appeared, Lu Fanglin's heart sank. She vaguely felt that this thought was true. She and Ho Fu helped Ning Cheng kill the 5 Dao Actualization Divine Emperors, but Ning Cheng did save her in the end. Lu Fanglin immediately turned around. Regardless of whether Ning Cheng ended up being swallowed by the buried shadow demon or not, she did not want to pretend that she did not know anything about it. Ning Cheng had indeed encountered some trouble. Shortly after Lu Fanglin accelerated, he felt that he was once again facing the threat of death. Ning Cheng did not know what it was before, but now he knew that it was the buried shadow demon. Although Ning Cheng couldn't find anything with his spiritual consciousness, he did not hesitate to bring out the first bridge of coping. At the same time, he entered the first bridge. Lu Fanglin walked too fast, and the sneak attack was too sudden. He had no chance to stop Lu Fanglin. Because Ning Cheng's speed was too fast, 3 or 4 blue sand shadows followed Ning Cheng into the first bridge of coping. On his first bridge of coping, Ning Cheng finally saw the shadow of the buried shadow demon. It had the same color as the blue sand outside, and its entire body looked like a huge irregular sphere. Moreover, it seemed to constantly change its shape. A few slender arms and legs were wrapped around his body like snot hanging down from his nose. It looked a little strange. Seeing Ning Cheng standing in the middle of the first bridge of coping, these shadows opened their mouths and rushed towards Ning Cheng. Although he could see it clearly, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness still couldn't catch this buried shadow demon. After these blue buried shadow demons opened their mouths, their entire bodies disappeared. It seemed that they only had a mouth and nothing else. Ning Cheng didn't move. Instead, several violent nether winds swept over and swept away the buried shadow demons that hadn't yet approached Ning Cheng. Then, they fell into the blood river under the first bridge of coping. Miserable screams rang out, and there was no trace of them left on the first bridge of coping. Ning Cheng also felt surprised. He didn't expect the buried shadow demons to have such clear screams. This thing didn't look like a spirit soul, nor did it look like an essence spirit. Ning Cheng didn't know what it was. Ning Cheng soon felt surprised. After devouring these buried shadow demons, the first bridge of coping started to solidify. Ning Cheng found that the first bridge of coping's effect of devouring these buried shadow demons was several times more effective than killing cultivators on it. Wasn't this buried shadow blue sand the place to cultivate the 7 bridges spirit technique? Ning Cheng felt ecstatic and let the first bridge of coping transform into a solid form. The entrance to the bridge of coping lay directly across the buried shadow blue sand, and Ning Cheng stood at the entrance of the bridge of coping. Perhaps the buried shadow fiends had already launched their attack on Ning Cheng. After Ning Cheng's first bridge of coping devoured these buried shadow fiends, more buried shadow fiends rushed over and rushed towards Ning Cheng, who stood at the head of the first bridge of coping. Ning Cheng didn't even need to attack. He just needed to let the nether winds from the bridge of coping sweep these buried shadow demons into the bridge of coping. As more and more buried shadow demons appeared, the 5 words first bridge of coping started to solidify around Ning Cheng. These 5 words suspended over the pale white first bridge of coping, lying across the buried shadow blue sand. The majestic aura brought with it a strange scene. The buried shadow demons seemed endless as they swarmed over. Ning Cheng finally understood what Lu Fanglin meant when she said that as long as one was targeted by the buried shadow demons, one would die without a doubt. If he didn't have the 7 bridges of coping, he would have already turned into dust under the endless attacks of the buried shadow demons. But now, these buried shadow demons had no choice but to follow Ning Cheng's lead. In just 2 incense stick worth of time, Ning Cheng found that the first bridge of coping had almost completely solidified. No matter how many buried shadow demons he killed, it would only make this aura grow stronger and stronger. On the bridge of coping, nether winds and blood rivers surged, as if endless nether soldiers were rushing over. Step on this bridge, don't look back. No one is waiting for you at the end of your hometown. Don't look at each other, don't hesitate. When your foot falls on this bridge, your heart breaks. The Dao charm on the bridge of coping grew stronger and stronger. Under the call of this powerful Dao charm, Ning Cheng felt himself becoming more and more integrated with the first bridge of coping. At this moment, he could even use the first bridge of coping without using the 7 Bridges Realm book. Ning Cheng started letting these buried shadow demons cross the first bridge of coping and enter the second bridge of coping. As time passed, just like the bridge of coping, after devouring the endless buried shadow demons, the village-looking bridge also started to solidify. Step on this bridge, don't look back. No one is waiting for you at the end of your hometown. Don't look at each other, don't hesitate. When your foot falls on this bridge, your heart breaks. The earth-yellow village-looking bridge's Dao charm also grew stronger and gradually merged with Ning Cheng. At this moment, Ning Cheng had completely integrated into the formation of his 7 Bridges spirit technique. Not knowing for how long, the second bridge of viewing village gave off waves of Dao charm. The surging village-looking Dao charm felt like the nether winds on the bridge of coping or the blood rivers under the bridge. Second bridge of viewing village, complete. Ning Cheng suddenly opened his eyes, and the Dao charm in his hand changed once again. More buried shadow demons safely rushed over the second bridge of viewing village, and a vague shadow appeared in front of the second bridge of viewing village. This vague shadow quickly formed a faint gray bridge head, the third bridge of Forgetting River. As more and more buried shadow demons were devoured by the third bridge of Forgetting River, the third bridge of Forgetting River, just like the previous 2 bridges, also started to grow clearer. Finally, the Dao charm of the Forgetting River merged together and formed Ning Cheng's killing intent aura. The bridge of Forgetting River is a long journey. When you come, the bridge of Forgetting River will turn to ashes. No matter how many buried shadow demons entered the third bridge of Forgetting River, they still looked the same when they first stepped onto the bridgehead. By the time they reached the heart of the bridge, they had already turned into nothingness or ashes. The fog over the third bridge of Forgetting River completely covered the bridge body under the influence of Tao charm of the Forgetting River. But the bridge of Forgetting River no longer looked like the kind that would scatter at a touch. Instead, it had turned into a real gray bridge. Ning Cheng wantonly killed the buried shadow demons within the rolling burial shadow blue sand. Lu Fanglin, who had retreated from a distance to look for Ning Cheng, felt completely sluggish. She watched Ning Cheng stand in front of the first bridge of Forgetting, which looked much more solid than before, and continuously harvest the buried shadow demons. Within the burial shadow blue sand, her spiritual consciousness and vision couldn't see the buried shadow demons at all. But at the head of the pale white bridge of Forgetting River, she saw the buried shadow demons for the first time. That's because there were just too many buried shadow demons here. They seemed endless and endless. It's just that no matter how many buried shadow demons came, Ning Cheng would still end up sucked into the first bridge of Forgetting River. She couldn't see the second bridge of Forgetting River, nor could she see the third bridge of Forgetting River. But she knew that Ning Cheng didn't harvest these buried shadow demons for no reason. Lu Fanglin sucked in a breath of cold air. She never thought that someone could harvest the buried shadow demons within the burial shadow blue sand. Moreover, this person was standing right in front of her. Ning Cheng saw Lu Fanglin in the distance, but he didn't greet her. Those buried shadow demons all came for him. Even if Lu Fanglin stood next to him, these buried shadow demons didn't attack. Perhaps because of his crazy slaughter, these buried shadow demons only had one thought in their mind, and that was to kill Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng didn't die, but Ning Cheng's third bridge of Forgetting River started to slowly solidify. It's just that the speed at which it solidified started to slow down. Ning Cheng secretly sighed in his heart. He knew that the buried shadow demons had a great effect on solidifying his 7 bridges. Unfortunately, this effect only worked in the early stages and would only weaken as time went by. As the Dao charm imposing manner over the Forgetting River grew more and more majestic, the buried shadow demons disappeared as soon as they reached the fog at the head of the bridge. Although he knew that he couldn't solidify the 4th Yellow Springs bridge here, Ning Cheng still desperately harvested the buried shadow demons. A sharp cry came from a distance. Ji Amru. Ning Cheng's heart shook, and a strong sense of crisis washed over him. He no longer cared about harvesting the buried shadow demons. Rolling up the 7 Bridges Realm book, he shouted at Lu Fanglin, who had her mouth wide open, "Hurry up and run." He had a hunch that his 7 Bridges spirit technique couldn't deal with this buried shadow demon called Ji Amru. Not only couldn't deal with it, but it was also far from it. Chapter 1000. Even without Ning Cheng's reminder, Lu Fanglin already knew what was going on. She immediately rushed out. In the burial shadow blue sand, those who could call themselves burial shadow demons were those who could call themselves Ji Ang Muru. It was said that even Dao essence powerhouses would die under the mouths of these demons. Even if Ning Cheng's 7 Bridges spirit technique was powerful, Ning Cheng's strength was only at the Dao sculpting realm. Killing 100,000 ants didn't mean you could kill a tiger. At this time, the burial shadow demon chasing behind Ning Cheng seemed to have gone mad. Even if it encountered other cultivators along the way, this burial shadow demon didn't care about them and only rushed towards Ning Cheng. With the appearance of the burial shadow demon, the people on this path had already dispersed. Only Ning Cheng and Lu Fanglin frantically ran through the tumbling blue sand. Both of them could clearly feel the burial shadow demon getting closer and closer to them. "Dao friend Lu, we can't run anymore. If we continue to run, in a place like the burial shadow blue sand, we will eventually be devoured by the burial shadow demon." Ning Cheng called out to Lu Fanglin and stopped himself. He called out to Lu Fanglin because he wanted her help. If Lu Fanglin didn't help and continued to run, then he would have to block the burial shadow demon by himself. In a place like the burial shadow blue sand, the faster he and Lu Fanglin escaped, the more energy they would consume. However, the burial shadow demon's energy consumption in this place was almost non-existent. In this kind of situation where one side consumed energy while the other side conserved energy, once it caught up to them, the result could be imagined. What's more, he and Lu Fanglin were far from being an opponent of the burial shadow demon. As soon as Ning Cheng stopped, he brought out the 1st bridge of coping. When Lu Fanglin heard Ning Cheng's words, she didn't hesitate at all. She turned around and rushed into the 1st bridge of coping. She knew very well that if she wasn't by Ning Cheng's bridge of coping, she might not even have the chance to make a move before the burial shadow demon killed her. Seeing Lu Fanglin act so decisively, Ning Cheng secretly praised her in his heart. His figure flashed and he also entered the 1st bridge of coping. This powerful burial shadow demon wasn't something he could crush with the bridge of coping at will. He had to enter the bridge of coping to deal with it. Ning Cheng and Lu Fanglin had just entered the 1st bridge of coping when a terrifying aura swept over them. Without even half a moment of hesitation, this person directly rushed into the 1st bridge of coping. They had the same irregular blue spherical body, but they had different arms and legs. This burial shadow fiend was fundamentally different from the burial shadow fiends that Ning Cheng had easily killed before. Although Ning Cheng's 1st bridge of coping didn't affect it at all. It opened its mouth wide, wanting to swallow everything. Ning Cheng roared, and his long spear stimulated all the spirit essence within it before blasting out. At the same time, A dozen time wheels shot into the burial shadow demon's mouth. That was not all. His law-breaking sacred art and the law of time were also unleashed at this moment. Facing such a powerful burial shadow fiend, defending was the most foolish thing to do. Lu Fanglin also took advantage of this opportunity. The moment Ning Cheng made his move, her indefinite azure sword transformed into circles of cyan Dao charm. All of these attacks bombarded the buried shadow demon's body. However, the buried shadow demon only paused for a moment before roaring. Its originally motionless hand suddenly stretched out and patted down on Ning Ning's first bridge of coping. The first bridge of coping's surging Dao charm didn't last long under this slap. It immediately dissipated, and the pale white bridge body also started to crack. A terrifying backlash erupted, causing Ning Cheng to spit out a mouthful of blood. Even his body was blasted away. Lu Fanglin didn't fare much better than Ning Cheng. Just like Ning Cheng, she was blasted away like a river of blood. If it weren't for Ning Cheng's first bridge of coping, they wouldn't have even qualified to be blasted away. The two of them went all out, but in exchange, the burial shadow demon didn't rush to swallow them. Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air. He knew that with his and Lu Fanglin's strength, even in his 7 bridges, it would be impossible to kill this burial shadow demon. Just as Lu Fanglin was about to fall into the blood river, Ning Cheng blasted out a handprint. The blood river rolled up a powerful force and sent him and Lu Fanglin to the other side of the first bridge of coping. Let's go! Ning Cheng took the lead and rushed into the second village viewing bridge. At the same time, Lu Fanglin also followed Ning Cheng into the second village viewing bridge. The first bridge of coping made a crashing sound and directly blasted into ruins. The burial shadow demon crossed the first bridge of coping and rushed to the bridgehead of the second village viewing bridge. The village viewing bridge's Dao charm only slowed the burial shadow demon for half a breath before it continued to rush forward. Lu Fanglin's hair was disheveled, and her clothes looked even more torn than before. It's just that Ning Cheng wasn't in the mood to appreciate this tempting woman at this moment. Instead, he anxiously tried to think of countermeasures. The 5-colored star splitter arrow should be able to stop it for a moment or two. However, Ning Cheng didn't dare to bring out the 5-colored star splitter arrow right now. Not to mention that there was still Lu Fanglin here. Ding Si was more important. Ning Cheng vaguely felt that Ding Si was spying on them in the dark, looking for an opportunity to strike. Once he brought out the 5-colored star splitter arrow, he would truly die. Lu Fanglin didn't care about exposing herself at all. She anxiously retreated to Ning Cheng's side and said, "Do you have a way to tie down this demon for 3 breaths? Just 3 breaths?" Ning Cheng didn't even ask why he wanted to stall for 3 breaths and directly brought out the spirit technique None to Depend On. None to Depend On, Yellow Sands Rise. There was a skinny horse on the West Wind Ancient Road. We were interdependent for a long time, and our clothes were filled with tears. None to depend on, the heart has been abandoned. Instead of gazing at each other from afar, it's better to be separated forever. The None to Depend On spirit technique was a Heart Dao spirit technique. The reason why Ning Cheng brought out the None to Depend On spirit technique was that after gaining a deeper understanding of the returning to one Dao, he gained a more thorough understanding of the None to Depend On spirit technique. The 7 Bridges sacred art could easily kill ordinary burial shadow fiends, which meant that the Heart Dao sacred art was useful against them. From a certain perspective, the first few bridges of his 7 Bridges sacred art were also a type of Heart Dao sacred art. It was just that his 7 bridges had yet to be perfected and his cultivation was still low, which was why he couldn't block the buried shadow fiends. None to Depend On spirit technique was one of Ning Cheng's matured great spirit techniques, and its power was no less than sunset's twilight. After gaining a deeper understanding of the Tao of Return to One, his understanding of None to Depend On also deepened. The second village viewing bridge cracked under the buried shadow fiend's huge palm. At the same time, the west wind blew, and the yellow sand flew, the ancient road appeared, and the sun set. Lu Fanglin felt completely stunned. She thought that Ning Cheng would cooperate with her without asking any questions. However, she didn't think that Ning Cheng would bring out such a poignant Heart Dao spirit technique. Although Ning Cheng's spirit technique didn't target her, she still felt intoxicated by Ning Cheng's spirit technique. None to depend on, the yellow sand rises, west wind ancient road, a thin horse, interdependent, long tears, none to depend on, the heart has been abandoned, looking at each other from afar, it's better to be separated forever. A breath passed, and Ning Cheng's angry voice rang out in Lu Fanglin's ears, why aren't you doing it? What are you waiting for? No one could blame him for his anger. He couldn't bear the terrifying aura of the buried shadow fiend, and his none-to-depend-on spirit technique was on the verge of shattering. Lu Fanglin felt shocked and almost cried out in regret. She quickly brought out a bead. The bead exuded a terrifying aura, and she kept sending out hand seals and Dao charm into the bead. As the second breath passed, Ning Cheng spat out a mouthful of blood. The west wind disappeared, and the yellow sand stopped. As the third breath passed, the ancient road shattered, and the setting sun melted away. In just 3 breaths, the buried shadow fiend broke free from Ning Cheng's none-to-depend-on spirit technique and opened its mouth to swallow Ning Cheng and Lu Fanglin. Ning Cheng gave out a dark sigh. Lu Fanglin's bead was just trash. No matter how powerful it was, it didn't have much practical use. It took 3 breaths to activate the bead. During these 3 breaths, the opponent would have already reacted and left. From this, one could say that her bead didn't have much practical value. He had managed to buy 3 breaths of time with the none-to-depend-on spirit technique, yet this woman wasted 1 breath. Ning Cheng saw Lu Fanglin's anxiety and indifference in the face of the buried shadow fiend trying to swallow them. He could only wave his hand and roll up the second village viewing bridge and throw it at the buried shadow fiend. When the second village viewing bridge entered the buried shadow fiend's giant mouth, it disappeared without a trace, just like mud falling into the sea. The buried shadow fiend's giant mouth still swallowed them, and the oppressive aura of death swept over. Ning Cheng sighed in his heart and once again used spiritual consciousness devour. He didn't like using this kind of spiritual consciousness transformation grand technique. Even if he had the Empyrean consciousness transmutation pill to resolve it, he still didn't like it. In the face of a life and death crisis, he had no choice but to use it. But when Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept towards the buried shadow fiend, he suddenly realized that his spiritual consciousness couldn't sweep the buried shadow fiend at all. If his spiritual consciousness couldn't sweep it, then how could he devour it? Seeing that the buried shadow fiend's giant mouth was about to swallow him and Lu Fanglin, Ning Cheng no longer cared about it and directly used the dark nether spirit devouring technique towards the void in front of him. A terrifying and violent spiritual consciousness coercion swept over, causing Ning Cheng to open his mouth and spit out a few blood arrows. At the same time, he swallowed the endless spiritual consciousness. Kaka! Ning Cheng's powerful starry sky sea of consciousness also issued bursts of kaka sounds, which scared Ning Cheng out of his wits. Did this want to destroy his starry sky sea of consciousness? He had never seen such a powerful spiritual consciousness backlash. Ning Cheng wanted to forcibly stop the spiritual consciousness devouring technique, but the violent spiritual consciousness backlash made him powerless. Enter the mysterious yellow bead. Just when Ning Cheng had this thought, he discovered that he couldn't even enter the mysterious yellow bead. His sea of consciousness was completely suppressed by the violent power, and he couldn't even move his spiritual consciousness. Ning Cheng couldn't help but feel some unwillingness in his heart. At this moment, he didn't have the energy to care about the buried shadow fiend. But at this moment, the buried shadow fiend truly froze. However, it only paused for a breath of time. This breath of time allowed the buried shadow fiend to realize that Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness was a good thing, and it wanted to devour it. Almost at the same time that Ning Cheng felt bound by the buried shadow fiend and was about to swallow his sea of consciousness, Lu Fanglin successfully activated the bead and threw it into the buried shadow fiend's mouth. The buried shadow fiend didn't even put this small bead in its eyes. Just when its mouth was about to continue rolling, boom boom boom, a terrifying and majestic explosion erupted from within the buried shadow fiend's body. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.